All right, what is up, everybody? Episode 19, Swamp Creatures Podcast. Welcome, Duke. Welcome, Mitch. And most importantly, welcome, Ashton. Birdie, thank you for joining us. How are
Thank you for
doing?
having me.
Yeah, anytime. Duke, and I want Duke to give you the proper intro because anyone watching hasn't seen, but the pre-show was pretty hectic, and so I want to make sure we do everything post recording properly. Bring her in, Duke.
Bring her in. Well, she's right here.
I'm already here.
She's already here, Rob. Why am I having to bring her in again? She's already introduced, but
because I definitely missed a few things. I want to make sure we give her a proper introduction.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, she begged me over and over again at the Tom Woods 2000 to re-invite her after she abruptly canceled on us this last time we were trying to make this happen. And luckily, Dickie Walnuts, my brother, filled in for her on the Halloween episode so mightily. But, ladies and gentlemen, finally, on this glorious day for Kyle, we have Ashton Birdie.
Hi. Thank you for
Hello
that.
there.
How are you guys?
Doing wonderfully. And yourself?
I'm doing quite well, actually. I just got off a plane, so I'm a little bit out of it. But I'm definitely hyped up for this recent trial, for this recent acquittal, if you will. I'm pretty excited about it. Mm-hmm.
I'm sure we're all feeling quite the same about this at the moment. But I got to start off real quick and get you with a hard-hitting question. So you're Hispanic?
I'm Latina.
So you're Latina?
No fucking way.
I'm 5% Latina.
Okay, 5% Latina. Okay.
Yeah,
you
so
identify.
enough to actually count as Latina. It's really not. But it's
Not
always
enough.
funny when people like find out in my 23andMe I've got 5% Argentinian, so
Oh,
and my
Argentinian. So you're not even really.
Here's the thing,
Right.
but here's the thing. That part of my family immigrated here before World War One. So
Okay.
it's not that kind of Argentinian.
Yeah,
You just
that
happen
was
to
my
have
next question. Was like, is that like the rat lines?
What?
You know, the German rat lines after World War II.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Not
That's
like
another.
and how Hitler escaped
Yeah.
Argentina.
Boys from Brazil and all that. So
No, there's actually
There's truth behind that shit.
Have you seen the documentary Finding Hitler? And how the guy
No, I
goes
haven't.
down to South America and he finds like all of these different bunkers and whatnot and finds like these like artifacts from like not artifacts I guess you'd say like he finds like pins and stuff from 1940s Germany and finds all of these different like Nazi emblems and whatnot and like he basically proves that Hitler was or not maybe not Hitler but like there were Nazis in South America and he's trying to prove that Hitler escaped to South America. He never actually killed himself.
No, well, there's absolutely that. I don't know about Hitler escaping down there, but there's plenty of Aryan folk that disappeared down there. I have a really good friend of mine, Nico. He's from Chile, and he is the most pale-skinned, red-headed individual you'll ever see in your entire life. You would not believe that he lived down there in the mountains.
That you'll ever
But he's
see?
all got his Aryan descendants.
Well, that's the thing is the guy Finding Hitler, the guy in the documentary, or I think it's a docuseries actually. He's trying to prove that Hitler never killed himself, and he went down to South America and lived there for the rest of his life.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty interesting, actually.
He dropped the mustache and then he just stayed.
Well, then I guess it's fitting that we just had not Richie Roma come in here, so it's time to dub you an honorary white this evening, Ashton.
I'm mostly Russian and Irish and Italian, so yeah.
Well, no, that doesn't
even
matter.
Even then, I'm not white, actually.
Yeah, Eastern Europe.
Hey, our Argentines don't count. There's
I'm
like
every
motherfuckers
white
down
that's
there.
Not white.
There's motherfuckers down in Argentina named fucking Von Wiener Schnitzel or some shit. Like,
so
I'm sorry, that shit don't count.
That's why she gets the honorary white.
Yo,
we have all been called out of order because Joey is wondering what we're drinking, and Joey is the newly appointed he's the newly appointed chair, right? Or maybe treasurer of Bay County.
Not
Right.
Joey's chair, if I remember correctly.
Joey's
Oh,
chair.
shit.
All right, yeah.
Shout out to
Congratulations,
Joey.
Congrats, Joey.
Taking over. Yep, I'm gonna have to get something to drink from my liquor cabinet up here.
Hold
right,
up, this
well,
was to you,
since-
Joey.
Well, since then, I guess I'm taking over MC duty since I'm probably the only sober one here. I have been being a good boy, and for 19 days I haven't drank. And
The fuck?
I guess I'm owing all of you guys my taxes from me missing all these drinking sessions. But instead of losing weight, as I was hoping I would do, I've actually gained 5 pounds since I stopped drinking. So I don't know if this is like excess eating that I'm making up for all this, or my body is just craving carbs for some reason and causing me to bloat. But without further ado, Richie, what are you drinking this evening, good sir?
Honestly, I don't have anything ready, but I usually have a little bottle of rum laying around, so I'm probably just gonna take a few swigs of this, take a few shots. Yeah.
How's your day been so far, big guy?
Good, man. We've had a little bit of freedom to celebrate today, so can't complain.
Absolutely not. Mitch, I know you said you've been ripping dabs all night, but what else have you been doing?
Yes,
this is
good old
probably
Delta
why.
8.
So, well, before you get into what you're drinking, we were having many technical difficulties before the show, and I am putting it all on Mitch and Canifest and having him break his back. Whoa, what? That's what you were saying. I'm sorry if that was in confidence.
Yeah, no, there was some truth to that, but you're the one who went in and edited all the stuff, so.
I didn't edit anything. Nothing was done.
Okay,
It
you know,
fell
with
to
one
Daddy to
trial
handle
ending, I'm
things.
starting to think we need to have a trial on this show.
Not yet.
Who's?
But go ahead. What are
the-
you drinking, Mitch?
All right. Well, I got two things here today. I have Dos Equis and I have either Amstel or Yingling. We'll see which one.
All right, Robert, your booze, sir.
So, my fraternity conned me into paying for a subscription to this wine box from Napa Valley, and they shipped me like a whole bunch of wines that I haven't even drank yet. This is the Otis, named after our founder, Otis Allen Glazebrook.
There's a picture of him on there?
2018.
Like your
Yes,
frat's owner or
The
the winery's owner?
one of the fraternity's founders of Alpha Tau Omega. It's got a picture of his old ass on there. So yeah, we're gonna try it out. It's a red wine. Doesn't
So
say
every
what
time-
kind of red wine.
So every time you guys shove the wine bottles up each other's ass, he is going in there too.
We do elephant walks, sir. How dare you?
And Ashton, are you drinking this evening, or are you being a teetotaler like myself?
I'm pretty sober all the time, unless it's the occasional Blue Moon
Tom
sort of
Woods?
situation. Not like Blue Moon. Yeah, I was sober at Tom Woods as well. I was the only female sober at Tom Woods, actually, now I think about
I
it.
think you're the only person sober in Tom Woods.
Tom Woods was more of a rager than I think anyone had any expectations for it to be.
There were so many people I ended up having to babysit that Mitch
I wouldn't call it a rager.
Poor Mitch.
You can't talk about Tim like that when he's not on the podcast.
Oh, she was Rob. She was babysitting many other people besides Tim. Tim has a wife.
Yes.
His wife was babysitting him.
I was
But-
babysitting Dickie. was
I'm very
babysitting-
upset. Laney, someone was babysitting Laney. Very upset. I
That was
wanted to
Ashton
meet him.
babysitting Lane.
Yes.
I was babysitting everyone. I was the only sober person there. Like, I remember Autumn was drunk. Dickie was gone. Dickie was in another universe.
Yeah,
I
Dickie was
was
pretty fucked up.
Were you?
I had to make sure the man washed his hands on several occasions. So,
Good job.
you know, babysitting a grown ass man, walking him to the bathroom is always a wonderful thing. But, you know, it's what we
Yeah.
do for love.
I invited Dickie to the Escambia County Libertarian affiliate meeting tonight because he lives in Pensacola now, which I was just made aware of like this past month. So I'm definitely gonna try. Oh no, I broke the cork, motherfucker. Moment of
If y'all
silence.
hear any weird dog noises in the background, let me know. My corgi's in here and he's being a little grumpy asshole.
Damn, Kelly.
What did Kelly say?
Coming after asking if Ashton's old enough to drink.
I mean, we should know better than to ask this question. But how old are you, Ashton?
How old do you think I am?
24.
I'm 26 actually.
26? Well, then you.
People always think I'm like 18, 19 years old or something. I've gotten 16 before even, but yeah, I look very young for my age.
It's a compliment.
Here in the state of Florida, 16. I know this is something that all libertarians know, but
whoa!
Are we
exact
all
opposite
Arvin
of jail
Vahora
get-
here?
yeah, we would have to question what Clint's into if you were really 16 years old. But good thing you aren't. 26 is better than 16. But so why are you heading back to California?
Says you.
Oh.
Hey,
So I'm
Rob.
actually back in California for so I'm actually packing up the rest of my stuff to take back to Florida. So I'm still moving a bunch of stuff, hence why like I got to take my whole set back with me, why I haven't made a video in so long. Also Thanksgiving, I kind of like want one more holiday with my demon family before I officially move, so you know. That should be fun.
Oh, I mean, the holidays are always fun with the family you can't stand to be around, right, guys?
It's pretty, especially like the Kyle Rittenhouse trial, and everyone in my family's like, he's a white supremacist, and you're just like,
Really?
kind of trying to like not. My whole family is extremely liberal, and I don't mean like fun liberal to be around. I don't mean like at least interesting with like some sense and some reading behind.
You
it to
didn't
back
get
up-
your 4th booster shot?
I'm like talking about like white wine liberals. Like here's the thing, I would rather hang out with a communist or a socialist because even though they're wrong, at least they're interesting to talk to and they can have a real conversation. Whereas like my family's a bunch of white wine liberals and they think Dr. Fauci is God and CNN is God and my mom secretly wants to fuck Anderson Cooper. No, my mom seriously.
She
I'm
can never
convinced-
have him.
Good luck with that. That's
Yeah, she
Like-
can never
like-
have him.
like if she wanted to fuck Michael Malice. Boom, bazanga.
Well, you know what I'm talking
The
about,
odds
right?
are
Like,
better in that case.
all of these people who live behind like gated communities, like the border walls. I mean, to be fair, I think the border wall is actually a really bad idea. I think it's a waste of taxpayer money. I think it's kind of stupid. I don't think it's actually going to do anything regarding.
But they got the
illegal
gated
immigration.
community. That's what you're saying. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And they'll have
Yeah.
like signs in their front yard talking about Black Lives Matter, but then they go turn around and vote for Kamala Harris and Barack Obama. It's mind blowing to me.
It's like that one.
So they're extremely blue pilled.
Extremely, yeah. Like and honestly, I think Republicans are also blue pilled as well. So it's the fact that
Most
like,
of them are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It's just both parties, especially the boomers of both parties, will preach these ideas, but then turn around and kiss the ass of people like Dan Crenshaw, who's too busy sucking off Israel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kiss up the ass.
I subscribe to the Malice definition of blue pilled and red pilled, meaning,
Mhm.
Do you think that the establishment's the enemy or not?
Right.
That
It just really ticks me off that people think of red pill now as like a right wing thing or like a QAnon thing, and that's not what like red pill has ever meant. It's never been a Republican or Democrat. It has always been about: are you stupid? Are you paying attention? Like that's the whole thing. Is that
right?
I grew up like growing. I've already gave Mitch the whole spiel about this when I first met him. I grew up on Alex Jones. I found Alex Jones when I was 13 years old. I was a big anarchist in high school. I got really into politics in my high school career when Occupy Wall Street happened, when the Julian Assange case happened, when Ross Ulbricht went to trial, when Snowden went to trial, and all this stuff happened. So like it was a big moment for me in high school. And I found all this stuff happening through like World of Warcraft forums. This is back when the internet wasn't so sanitized and completely destroyed. Like back in my day, I'm sure back in your guys' day too.
What a nerd.
You just call me a nerd? I love World of Warcraft.
You said you
Shut
were in
up.
World of Warcraft.
I love World of Warcraft.
That's totally nerdy, but
Oh, we're gonna get. Just wait, we're
We'll
gonna
get
get
some
really
nerd
nerdy
stuff.
a little bit later. I have some really tough questions for you.
as long as you weren't like my cousin that like we'd swing by and he'd be playing World of Warcraft and then you come
And
back
you
3
kiss
days
him?
later.
And you
You
kiss
come back
him.
3 days later and that motherfucker's in the same t-shirt and like his hair's all crusty and he's still playing World of Warcraft and you're like, motherfucker, have you moved? Like I could smell you from outside.
I was president of my Dungeons and Dragons club in high school. I am also the biggest Lord of the Rings fan you'll ever meet in your entire life. Yeah, I'm pretty nerdy in that aspect. I also used to have blue hair. I played the drums in a rock band when I was in high school. So I was just like a full blown, like, everybody assumes that I was a cheerleader growing up, which is like not the exact opposite of what I was. Actually, my best friend was a cheerleader, funny enough, but I was not a cheerleader. I was like the biggest nerd ever. I'm still the biggest nerd ever. I just learned how to dress properly. That's all that really happened.
Boom, nerds. Don't know how to dress.
Well, that's the thing is, like, people just assume, because I'm a tiny blonde chick, but like I just basically learned, I can wear dresses and I can trick people into thinking I'm a normal female. It's great.
Well, and then the scenes that you kind of swim around in, it's kind of easy to just kind of like make everyone put you up on a pedestal there, Ashton.
Oh, no, it's true. I make this joke all the time. People are just like, you female, like politic, take my money. And it's just like...
Do you have the tip setting on your Twitter?
I used to not have it there, but I just recently turned it on because I'm like, I figure why not, Look, I made an OnlyFans. I actually have not made any single tips on Twitter because I don't. But I made an OnlyFans where I put pictures of myself dressed as like a nun just to fuck with people, and people still subscribe to it. It's a joke OnlyFans. There's not a single nude picture of me on there, and people still subscribe to it. I'm like, this was a joke.
Hey. You need to take some screenshots and send them to us so we can put them up on the. Put them up on the episode.
I will
right now.
You know what? Here, I'll send you guys screenshots right now if you really want
to.
to.
He's tricking you. He's trying to trick you.
He's trying to get around that paywall.
I
take his
really
money.
It's literally just pictures of me in a nun costume.
Hey, I like how I did that, right?
Yeah, Ashton's just rocking an Abbott, getting all these simps to fucking throw money at her.
Dude, it's honestly, it wasn't even about the money, it was about the message, okay? Like, I just wanted to make a point that people
This is
will
what
pay.
power looks like.
Here, I'm sending you a screenshot right now. I'm sending you a screen grab right now. I don't care if you post it. Like, it wasn't about the money. It was about making a joke and a message, and it worked. And all of these MAGA boomers were, like, threatening to sue me because I didn't post titty pictures. It was the funniest thing in the world. Okay, you got all of these people who are like, porn bad. You can't look at porn. And the moment I posted OnlyFans, not tell people what's on it, all the same people who were like, porn bad, porn evil, go subscribe to it, and then complain to me that I haven't posted pornography. It's the funniest shit.
Well, it's like this couple out in California. They got their kids expelled from a Catholic school because the mom and the dad were posting pictures and videos of themselves on OnlyFans. But it's like, I wonder who's, like, the parishioners are complaining. What are you guys doing subscribing to my OnlyFans? Why is it such a big deal? They're all pissed off. They're making like $100,000 a month or something like that.
Oh yeah, wait a minute. My question is, like, how they find out? Like, did someone from the school subscribe to the OnlyFans or something? Like,
yeah, well, that's my theory. Me and my boss talked about this, where it was like, basically we were thinking like probably what happened was like some guy subscribed whose kid goes to the school, and his wife saw that, and then she got all mad and went to the school board and raised hell.
yeah.
I mean, that's possible.
I mean, it just sounds like a very, very likely scenario.
I think it's just jealousy.
That's what I'm saying.
I think I can speak for everyone here and say porn is good, and it should be a part of the libertarian platform, if I'm being honest.
So I actually, like, porn makes me super uncomfortable. Like, if I see a sex scene, like, in a movie, a TV, like, I can't watch Game of Thrones. I'm sorry. I can't watch it. I can't do it.
It's
but,
really
like,
good.
I'm not going to shame someone else doing something as long as it doesn't harm other people or harm children or, it's something like that, then whatever. Do you. I'm just not going to look at it kind of thing. Like, as long as you're not touching children and there's nothing to do with, as long as there's consent involved, great. Whatever. That's not my business. That's your business. But the moment a pedophile gets involved, the moment someone assaults someone, that's when I'm like, hang the pedos, burn down the corporations.
Well,
So.
and Ashton's really good at segues because one pedo got taken care of very recently.
Ooh.
And today,
Ooh.
we have
And a woman beater,
wonderful
too,
verdict.
speaking of assault.
What was that?
Kyle Rittenhouse,
woman
he took
beater
out both a
also.
pedophile and a woman beater.
A woman beater and a pedophile. But today, of course, we have the verdict finally come down from the Kyle Rittenhouse case, and it was not guilty on all charges.
Well, I knew that was going to happen. I knew that when I looked into, because here's the thing, it wasn't even so much Kyle Rittenhouse being obviously innocent. I'm going to be honest with you. When I first heard about Kyle Rittenhouse, the whole situation, I didn't think he was a white supremacist, but I remember thinking to myself, this is probably a kid who, like, did spend a lot of time, like, on 4chan and, like, was a MAGA chud and wanted to go out and save the day. Like, I legitimately thought that, like, okay, that's a little suspicious. But when I actually started looking into the case, because I try to be nuanced as much as possible with every situation, I don't think left versus right. When I actually looked into the case and saw that, like, oh, his dad lives in Kenosha. Oh, he only lived 30 minutes away. Oh, he was specifically asked to guard a gas station during that time. Oh, one of those people was a convicted pedophile. One person was a convicted wife beater. It everything added up where I'm like, I cannot sit here and say there's a possibility of him being guilty of anything. And even I questioned, like, a month ago, why was he there in the first place? And then I was given other information about his family and, like, where he lived and his father and whatnot. I'm like, well, there you go. It's a no-brainer. I don't even know why there was a case to begin with. Because, maybe at the time when I first heard about this, I was like, that is a little suspicious, this 17-year-old kid being there. But and this is me trying to be nuanced as possible. When you actually get the facts together, there is no possible way for this kid to be seen as guilty. And so for people to come out here and be like, white supremacy, white supremacy, white supremacy, I'm like, listen, I've been in that situation where I have seen people go out into the streets. I've seen Proud Boys versus Antifa LARPing in the streets in the name of freedom. And this wasn't that at all. And I really tried to understand the left versus right paradigm and where people can get where people can think this is like an anti-black situation, but it's really not. And so the fact that people, with all the information out there, with the court hearing and everything, the fact people are coming forward like this is white supremacy is absolutely ridiculous, because when you get the facts together, there is no possible way. And the thing is, even if, like, there was, say, a situation that was still suspicious, there were still questions unanswered, that prosecutor just won the whole trial for Kyle for him. Because when you're that bad of a prosecutor and you're blatantly bringing up things that are not true, that can be easily, like, this prosecutor knew nothing about gun laws. This prosecutor knew nothing about gun safety. And his whole argument was that Kyle was not safe with his firearm and that he was breaking the law when he didn't. If anything,
as he points it at the jury, right?
Yeah, you mean he's not supposed to point it?
With the finger on the trigger.
Even with all the facts in alignment.
Without checking that it cleared.
Find the defendant guilty.
And people are still saying that Kyle brought an illegal weapon. He didn't. That gun is registered under his name. And according to his, according to law, that gun is legal in both states. And people are still bringing up, well, if this was a black kid with an illegal firearm, he wouldn't be seen as innocent. And here's the thing: if Kyle was a black kid who shot, say, 3 MAGA people coming after him, I would still support him, because it isn't about politics or left versus right. This is an act of self-defense.
Yeah, it's straight up. You can straight up look at the law and what self-defense is, and you apply it to the situation, you apply it to the facts, and here the facts were on the side of Kyle. I think there is something to be said about parenting here, though, because I don't have a kid, but if I did, I would not be driving him into a situation like this. I don't think he should have been there. Obviously,
drive him into the situation, or
she
what's
drove
the
him
story
to. I think she drove him to the boyfriend of his sister's house, which is his buddy, where the gun was. Right, and then that's where they went and did the stuff. Now, I thought
him and his dad. I was told that his father and him were protecting the gas station. That was a family friend owned business.
Well, they were, but that's fine. If his dad was there, then maybe that's another situation. Because if my kid's there with an AR-15, I'm definitely going to be there as well with whatever weapon we have. But I never saw his parents there in any of the footage. And then he said he went back to his house after the fact, and his mom was there. So I don't really.
His mom took him to the police station.
Yeah, I
afterwards.
haven't heard
dude,
about
it was
his dad at all.
It was like 3:00 in the morning, and let me tell you, I got a 16-year-old nephew. If it's 3:00 in the morning and my nephew isn't home, my brother knows where he is,
and we're gonna beat his ass.
Right, exactly. And let me tell you, like, if my nephew wanted to be somewhere, he's like, look, man, I've had the training, I know what I'm doing, I know how to handle a firearm. I want to be somewhere and I want to do something because I feel like I need to, be the change that we want to see in the world.
With that being said,
guess what? Me and my brother are going to be there with him.
Yeah.
I'm not going to let my fucking 16-year-old nephew, or even if he's 17, or even if he's fucking 18, I'm not going to let him be there by himself. That being said, Kyle did nothing wrong.
Yeah, with that being said, the prosecution was super slimy also. I've been keeping up with the trial all week, and as viewers of, as viewers of the show know, I'm not quite a lawyer yet, so this can't be legal advice, but I'm studying my bar right now for my bar, and just listening to it. Okay, first of all, the prosecution this past week showed evidence in the trial, the video that was super clear. The defense got a separate file, which was not as clear. Like literally you could see two apparitions. They weren't people.
Yeah, it was blurry as all hell.
It was blurry as shit. So that's what the defense knew they were going to be facing. The prosecution comes up. FBI's give us the video. It should be the same video you have. Shows them, and the video is actually technically manipulated because the way it's rendered, the computer AI program adds pixels where it thinks it should be. So on top of that, it's also zoomed in. And so their story is that's a gun he's pointing at Rosenbaum, and that provoked Rosenbaum to chase him because Rosenbaum's a dumb fuck and he's provoked. He doesn't really like guns pointed at him. And so
and he likes chasing little children.
It should have been a mistrial it should have been a mistrial right there with prejudice. And I'm not, obviously Rosenbaum. it was the right, shut up, Mitch, shut up. Obviously it was the right decision in the end. But right then, if I'm the defense, I'm going, Judge, this is, you've already heard our case like immensely. You have prejudiced our client by showing the jury evidence that we haven't prepared for. One, two, the prosecution mentioned Kyle's Fifth and Sixth Amendment rights, constitutionally protected rights in front of the jury in order to in a way that incriminated him because he was being silent, because he reached out to an attorney. And that's something you can't do. And the judge even said it, but the judge isn't a duly elected Democrat. So he's going to shut the fuck up and let the jury do the job. But he should have thrown the case out right then.
Well, do you think that it actually, it probably would have made things a whole hell of a lot worse if he threw everything out before the jury even rendered a decision? Do you think he'd holding that in his back pocket to say if somehow it became a hung jury or somehow they miraculously found him guilty, the judge is like, well, actually, this is where the mistrial is going to come in? Because even now, when they came up with the jury, everyone's spouting off of how, this is how they hold up the white supremacist system. This just proves everything that we've been saying from the beginning. I wasn't surprised how this is going to turn out. They're still doing that shit anyways.
Hey, did any of you guys, to that? Real quick, Rob. Did any of you guys see people posting literally saying, I've been in a progressive bubble this entire year? This is the first that I'm hearing that the people that Kyle Rittenhouse shot were white.
Yeah, no, I've seen that.
Not that that should matter at all, but did you guys see that? That shit's mind blowing to me. It's no wonder you thought that he's a fucking white supremacist.
Yeah, I've seen that, and I want to talk about that too. But back to the point Duke was making before. I think you're right. You can argue that as well, because if the judge does throw it out, then all of what you said is true. People are still complaining even now, but they're complaining then as well. But also, Kyle doesn't get to look back on this and go, I was found not guilty by a jury of my own peers. Right. So now it is a good situation where it went to the end and he was found not guilty on all counts by a jury of his own peers. And that's something that's a very positive thing.
You got to wonder though, now that he's free, what is he going to do?
I just see the media.
Dude, if he shoots someone else, I'm
the
going to be
video?
so
Yeah.
upset. I'm going to be so upset if he shoots someone else. But how funny would that be? We would all be like,
Hey,
oh, come
no.
on. Why are you doing it again?
Hey, how much do
I
y'all
say
think that
sue
he's
the
gonna
media.
sell that gun for?
Oh, he should definitely sell the gun. But he could sue the media. Ashton, you're right.
Yeah.
He sues the media. He should.
I've heard mixed things about that though, where it's like it would be nice if he could, but because this was a public trial and this wasn't like, a Nicholas Sandman situation, that it might not have the same.
Who's
They called
Nicholas
him a white
Sandman?
supremacist for shooting a pedophile, a white pedophile, and a white woman beater. Like, if mainstream media is calling you a white supremacist, a 17-year-old kid, and defaming your entire character for the rest of your life like that, yeah, you should be able to sue that for a lot of money. That's insane.
I'm not an expert in law like our not lawyer friend here, but
Rob, isn't that like textbook? What's it called? Slander or defamation or something?
I mean, it is, but the thing is, that's just what I had heard when I was reading up on this, because this is something that a lot of people have said, and I would love to see it happen, but it's that's just what I heard.
Yeah, off the top of my head, with defamation, the best defense to defamation is truth, and I love that. That is my ultimate favorite defense of all time is the truth. But yeah, he has to have a detriment. Technically, I believe. I'm not 100% sure, but I think he has to have a detriment because of comments that someone else made either online. And you're talking about the mainstream
the president
media.
called him a white supremacist, technically.
Right.
The president of the United States is defaming this kid.
And
it's insane.
I think it's a detriment. He probably can't walk a lot of places in a lot of neighborhoods. He would probably get beat up and recognized.
And also, it was a complete media storm and circus of a court case. So everything that the media has been saying for the past year or so has been prejudicing every single jury that could possibly have been put up there.
Can I comment on that, by the way? Notice how the media is spending a lot of time defaming this kid for shooting a pedophile, but they're being very silent on the Ghislaine Maxwell trials, who has literally worked with Jeffrey Epstein, who ran pedophile rings. So they're so focused on this 17-year-old kid. Yeah.
I just want to give you a round of applause.
Of course,
they're so
got the
focused on
soundboard.
the
He has to
17-year-old
interrupt
kid who
people.
shot a pedophile, calling him a white supremacist. They're so focused on the negative attention around Kyle Rittenhouse for defending himself against a pedophile, but they don't want to talk about Ghislaine Maxwell and her trials and how she worked with Jeffrey Epstein, who ran an entire circle, a pedophilia, child sex trafficking circle, with some of the biggest names in business and politics. But Clinton, Trump, Bill Gates, all of these people. The media is responsible for covering up Jeffrey Epstein, and no one's talking about that. This whole Kyle Rittenhouse trial is a complete psyop. Because here's the thing: we know he's innocent. We know he was defending himself. So all of these people who are jumping in like white supremacy, we're run by white supremacy, are guilty of covering up the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. If you are so focused on this Kyle Rittenhouse trial, talking about white supremacy and talking about the countries run by white supremacists, you are part of the problem in covering up this child sex trafficking ring.
I mean, it tells you who we're dealing with, and it goes to show you that these aren't people that we, should be seriously listening to, acknowledging, anything. And I feel like, this is a good thing because more and more people are seeing that veil come off.
And yeah, the media definitely pulled its veil down a lot in this because, like you said, people were talking about coming out of their bubble, and people were talking about how, oh, I didn't know this was happening. I didn't know this was happening. We had the video the day of. We had compilations the day after of everything that happened in Kenosha back last August. So we had the videos of the Grosskreutz having the gun in his hand and him pointing the gun at Kyle. We had the video of the guy shooting the gun off behind Kyle as he's running away. Like, we've all had this, and we've all known this for about a year now, and yet everyone's just finally now coming to it and finally
within days.
Exactly.
There was I was being a smartass on Instagram and Twitter and all that shit all day long.
No,
not you. Not totally unlike me. But I was being a smartass all day long, and there was people talking about what video, and I said, "Did you even watch the video? What video?"
You're like, motherfucker.
The guy chasing him across the fucking parking lot, trying to grab his gun. The video of people chasing him, smacking him with a skateboard, pointing a gun at his head. The videos of him defending himself. Like, what the fuck are we talking about here? And these people are like, "What video are you talking? Oh, I didn't know those videos existed." And I'm like,
"Yeah, it's like
what the fuck are you watching? Like,
you
what
had
are you paying
a
attention to?"
You had a whole year to come to this Twitter thread correct, and you fucked up.
Exactly.
But, you done goofed.
And since we have so much video evidence of all this that happened there, like what Ashton was saying, now we have the Maxwell case coming up. And where's the Maxwell case going to take place? It's going to take place in federal court where video is not allowed.
The Maxwell case is happening.
By the way, why is federal court? Why don't they allow media? I mean, here's the thing: like screw the media because they're basically working with the federal government. But the fact that that's the thing that always bugged me is that when people go, "You're not a real journalist. You're not a real journalist." The whole point of the First Amendment was to encourage people to be their own media. The whole point of the Second Amendment was to encourage people to be their own militia. And yet we've got these elites telling us that we can't be our own militias. We can't be our own journalists. That's what pisses me off the most. The fact that mainstream media exists, and we've got these websites like Twitter, YouTube, Google, whatever, that are basically telling people who are on the ground, reporters, that they're worth nothing because, oh, you're not ABC, oh, you're not Fox News, you're not CNN or whatnot. But here's the thing, the whole reason I got into politics was because I saw on-the-ground footage of Occupy Wall Street, which, by the way, what's really interesting when I'm seeing with this Kyle Rittenhouse situation is that people are jumping onto the white supremacy train, which is a huge distraction from what's really going on, especially with the Maxwell case. But remember in Occupy Wall Street, everybody was on the same page. Nobody thought left versus right. Nobody thought Democrat versus Republican. Everyone was on the same page. Yes, the banks are screwing us over. Let's focus on the real enemy. 2 years later, next thing you know, everyone's talking about Tumblr posts and, who's the most feminist Disney princess. And you've got Chase Bank in the gay pride parades.
Isn't there that statistic where, it just, New York Times and all those outlets, around the time of Occupy Wall Street, it just, shoots up them mentioning race in articles?
What's what I'm saying
the use of racist. Straight up.
A lot of this activism is a way to cover up the real issues. The banking system, the mainstream media lying, the federal government. A lot of this activism surrounding things like race, sexism, bigotry. Yeah, sure, those things do still exist in the world, but the elites are using these ideas in a way to distract us from the fact that these elites are part of the problem.
Yeah, no, it's total divide and conquer. It's textbook divide and conquer. They're executing it fucking flawlessly, at least with the left. With the right also. With the right also. But they're executing it flawlessly because they took the 99%, like you said, everybody was focused on the bankers, and now everybody's focused on each other. Instead of being focused on the bankers, the government, the establishment, the cathedral. They're focused on each other, and I think you're my enemy, and your neighbor's the worst person in the world because they voted for the wrong guy.
Yes, exactly. And I remember this when I was at UC Berkeley, and I was documenting all the riots, and even back when I was from a MAGA chud, I noticed that people were so focused on Antifa versus MAGA type people that we sort of lost track of everything. It's like, we disagree on a lot of things, but we're losing the fact that Antifa's not our enemy. I'm sorry. People keep saying that Antifa's paid off by, by the government, and that's just simply not true. At the end of the day, we're all just a bunch of activists beating each other up and LARPing in the street. That's all this really is.
Funded by George Soros.
Exactly. It's the dumbest take I keep hearing. The fact that we're so focused on left versus right is a pawn used by the government to make us focused on hating our neighbor, so we don't look at what's actually the bigger problem. So the next thing you know, we're all fighting each other and fighting over what's what, punching each other in the face. Meanwhile, the elites, who are both Republican and Democrat, mind you, are sitting in their ivory towers looking down at us and laughing at us. And by the way, the Libertarian Party is also in it as well. I don't want to hear it, okay? Mises Caucus is a little different, We could, you know.
You think we're
and
going to
here's-
sit here and defend the Libertarian Party?
Yeah, but here's the- as
I mean,
someone who's
when the
attracted-
takeover happens, post takeover, I'll defend them.
If anyone
Your-
wants to
your
Yeah,
political
I've been
party does
shitting
not
on the
matter.
LNC all week.
if anyone wants to post that map that the
Nah.
Cathedral Caucus posted, we can talk about that shit too.
Oh, the
Your
map.
political party
Fuck
does not
those
matter.
guys.
Your vote does
I-
not matter.
I hope they do show up in Orlando. I hope they do show up at our convention. You're gonna get fucked. Promise you.
Are they
And I-
trying to,
Not the way
they're
you
trying to
want
fuck
to look
us?
like.
I don't know. I don't know what they're trying to do. They showed up at South Carolina with a half-ass booth. How about that?
If they have a booth at our convention, we are
idea
going to
that
put our table right next to them.
this idea that
We
you
gotta
can
do
vote
that.
for someone to change the. But here's the thing. Look, Dave Smith running for president. I'll follow the meme any day. Okay, but I'll be honest with you guys. If once Dave Smith, if I don't think he actually will. I'm sorry to say this, but if he actually did get in office, I wouldn't be able to support him because I'm an anarchist. I don't support politicians in any party. I love Ron Paul, Daddy Liberty, Grandpa Liberty, love them, but. It's a good thing Ron Paul is no longer in office because I couldn't fully support him. The reason I support someone like Dave Smith running or Ron Paul running or Vermin Supreme running, it isn't about them actually being in office. It's the fact it gives them a platform to actually give these philosophies out to the world and encourage people to fight back. The moment if they do make it into office, I can't trust. It's like Tulsi Gabbard. It's like the moment she was talking so well about ending the wars and ending the federal government. And now she's kissing butt to Dan Crenshaw and Ben Shapiro, and it's like, what are you doing? You know?
No, she
Mommy
I
Tulsi is
think-
no longer
I think-
Mommy Tulsi. She's just fed, done.
Tulsi's somebody I could have gotten behind if she had half of a good take on guns, but she was always very anti-gun. I'm a single issue. I'm single issue when it comes to politics, and guns are my thing. And you know, I'm not going to vote for somebody that's against guns. But I think Dave's made it very clear. What's that?
I'm done voting altogether because honestly, here's the thing. I was a huge MAGA supporter. And it was the funniest thing because in 2016, I'm like, this is the guy that's going to put Hillary in prison. This is the guy that's going to stop the wars. This is the guy that's going to free Assange, freeze Ross Ulbricht, free Edward Snowden. And then I'm watching over time. I'm like, oh, he's sending missiles into Syria. Oh, he sent more missiles into Syria. Oh, he didn't pardon Ross Ulbricht or Julian Assange or Snowden. And Trump was the guy who I'm like, wow, every politician really is the same. Doesn't matter what they promise. All politicians are scum. You know, there is no our guy. There is no person on the inside who's going to save us all. At the end of the day, you have to be independent. You have to rely on yourself because politicians are bullshit. Their political parties are bullshit. And all of this is a scam. So Trump was the guy who really got on my head. Okay, voting's bullshit. There's no point anymore. It's time to basically have another revolution. Let's go. Hang the pedophiles, burn down the corporations,
Well,
destroy the.
So
Fed.
I cut out there for a second, so I didn't hear part of what you said. I'm with you. I voted for Trump for the simple fact that, well, the first time around, just for the simple fact that he was the biggest fuck you to the system that was running. You know what I mean?
Until we realized he was the system.
Well, right. But when he was running, he was a fuck you to the system, and then he became part of the system. And I voted for Jo Jorgensen because she was a bigger fuck you to the system, and I was very apolitical at the time, regardless. But she was a fuck you to the system, regardless.
I think Trump was actually a bigger FU to the system than Jo Jorgensen, just because here's the thing. One thing I did like about Trump, even though he was full of BS, and the moment he said, I don't know who Julian Assange is, I wanted to punch him in the face. The fact that he was so brutally honest is what made me like him, even though I didn't agree with the wall, even though I didn't agree, you know, and I'm not going to lie, I did pander on the wall for a little bit, but, you know, I didn't agree with a lot of things that he wanted to push. The fact that he was so blatantly honest and the fact that, like, he basically called up the media. We hadn't had a president call out the media since JFK. And that was a big deal for me.
I was gonna say that the what he did red pill a lot of fucking people, and he red pilled a lot of the right, as far not completely against the state per se, but at least against, you know, the quote unquote cathedral, the actual establishment. He made them realize a lot of the people that are in power do not stand with them. You know, Mitt Romney's full of shit. You know, your John McCain's, they're full of shit. Those aren't your people. They don't give a fuck about you. They just want to continue the wars and they want to fucking profit off of this.
I mean, Trump didn't do any help there. I mean, he didn't start new wars, but it's like he just kept sucking off to Israel, sucking off to, Italy, sucking off to Saudi Arabia. That whole $8 billion arms deal. I mean, look, it's all the same to me. Saudi Arabia and Israel are the same kind of scum. Okay, it's nothing to do with the people who live there. I've met Israeli people who are wonderful people. It's the governments. And here, I'll say this about any government, right? The Israeli government, the Saudi Arabia government, the American government, the Chinese government, the Russian government. All governments are trash, in my opinion. But the fact that we keep calling Israel our greatest ally is such bullshit. To me. It's like they've screwed us over so many, especially recently with this whole situation with that port where we were like, hey, we'll give you more money if we can have this import. And they still sold it to China. The fact you've got Republicans who are still sucking off to Israel after that, it's like, are you freaking kidding me? Are you kidding Meghan McCain? Are you kidding me, Dan Crenshaw? Like, these people are so full of shit when it comes to fighting the Chinese government. It's like, you're part of the problem. You love the Chinese government. You love their cheap-ass factory worker shit. Like, it's such bullshit. Sorry, I keep cussing. The freaking feds piss me off so much. It's insane.
Yeah, this is a family-friendly
no one gives
podcast.
a fuck about cursing on here.
Yeah. Watch your fucking mouth.
With everything you were just saying, though, like, fucking all that shit, but also, like, going back to what you guys were talking about before with, like, Jorgensen and Trump, Jorgensen didn't have any sort of fuck you to the establishment moment in any way, shape.
She really didn't. She was kind of...
No,
she put fucking Dershowitz on her SCOTUS pick list.
The Libertarian Party loves you. I'm something that... Like, honestly, who is that one chick who is basically just a giant, like, walking, like, salt lamp? Who is she? She ran back in, like, 2020 under the Democrat ticket.
Serena, something like that. I think I know who you're talking about.
She was the lady who was like, girlfriend... America's the greatest. She said that. I would prefer that chick over Joe Jorgensen. What was her name?
She ran as an independent, right?
No.
I think I know precisely who you're talking about.
So just to clarify, anybody like outside looking in, not really paying attention to politics at the time. Last year I was extremely apolitical, like, getting ready to fucking move into the woods and fucking camp out, and live off the land type of shit. Just voting for a libertarian, in my opinion, was just the fuck you to the system at the time, because at that point it was like, okay, Trump's letting people enforce lockdowns. Trump is pushing the fucking vaccine. Trump is allowing all this shit to happen under his watch. He's obviously one of them. He's allowing the wars that's on top of allowing the wars to continue, and everything that he did for his first 3 years.
Well, my train of thought was that if under Biden, people would stop talking about all the fucked up shit from under Trump. And that's exactly what happened.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, that was...
Yeah, it just continued. Yeah, people just stopped talking about it.
Yeah.
Honest question.
No one's talking about the kids in cages.
How the hell does Trump still have a base the way he does? How does he still have a loyal base? I mean, especially after January 6th. And he didn't pardon a single person from January 6th. How does a single person from January 6th still support Trump? Still believe in QAnon, especially after that documentary came out proving QAnon. The fact that, oh my gosh, I feel so stupid because I thought QAnon was a government psyop to make boomers trust the government. And it was just some, like, weird Asian dude in the Philippines whose dad owned 8chan. Like, some weird Asian dude with a weird anime fetish. And his dad owned 8chan. And he played as QAnon the entire time as a way to get 8chan more viewers. The only reason 8chan even had viewers was because of QAnon. Like, the whole thing was a psyop to make money off 8chan. Like,
I didn't even know that.
That's
fucking great.
The documentary?
No, I haven't.
God, it's insane.
No.
It's some weird dude with an anime fetish in the Philippines. It was him the entire time just spewing out bullshit to get people to click onto 8chan.
But isn't there a dispute?
I thought it was the CIA the entire time.
I really got to meet a Q person. I gotta meet a Q person.
I mean,
I always hear about QAnon, but
they're wild, and they tried so hard to get me on board. And like at one point, like I had QCoin sponsor my videos, and like I didn't support Q at the time. I just believed in like buying silver. It just happened to have Q on the thing, but even then, QAnon people are still trying to get me so hard to talk about Q. I'm like, guys, I don't know. If anything that says trust the plan on it, I'm just like, this is pretty fed. Like, this is pretty. Even when I was a Trump supporter, I was like, this is pretty. I don't know.
What's the name of that documentary?
It's on. I think it's on Hulu or HBO. I think it's on HBO. But
I think it's on HBO.
Into the Storm, I think it's what it's called. Into the Storm. Something around those lines, but.
Yeah, I think I've seen it flipping through HBO Max, but
it's actually a really funny documentary because the entire time you're just like, this is freaking.
People really fall. It's funny what people will fall into and what they'll believe. You know, it's I guess it's kind of like what Malice said. You don't take the whole bottle of red pills. You only take one or two.
Here's the thing, and it kind of explains why I supported Trump in 2016 for a couple of years, because I started to fade off in 2018. I supported Trump because I wanted so terribly to believe in something. I think this is why everyone else supported Trump. They wanted to believe there was someone who was going to save them. They wanted to believe that there was someone who was going to save them from the BS. I mean, look, they're right about some things. Like, hey, like there is sexual elite pedo rings going on. There is things like that. There are demonic forces at hand, but Trump isn't going to save us. No one is going to save us other than ourselves. And I think that's the problem. People don't want to face the idea that we have to be self-responsible and we have to be self-reliant because that requires more work. People want to believe someone like Trump is going to come along riding on a white horse and save us. And that's just not going to happen. It's just not.
Yeah. See, that's you know, obviously we're all libertarian, well, the rest of us. You know, we're from the anarchist branch of the Libertarian Party, but we are part of the party, and we're trying to, you know, cause change and whatever. And that's something that I think the post-libertarians kind of touch on. Post-libertarians, whatever the fuck they want to call themselves now.
What does that even mean?
But that, you know, people want to be saved. People want government. People want somebody ruling over them. And I think that's something that they get right, and that libertarians necessarily, like, they don't really talk about it. And we think that we're just going to reach Ancapistan and everything's going to be all sunshine and rainbows, or that it's just going to, you know, it'll kind of just iron itself out and we'll figure it out within, you know, a few years or something like that. But, you know, nobody's really talking about, hey, what's going to happen when we get to Ancapistan? And I mean, everybody else wants to form a government and wants to form exactly the same shit, you know, that we have now, because that's what's going to happen. Everybody's going to want to form exactly the same shit we have now because they don't want the responsibility. So me personally, I believe that that's an important conversation that they're having that, you know, we need to have sooner or later. Yep. It is. Nobody wants that. I'm not nobody. A lot of people don't want to be free. They really don't. And it's fucking sad.
Well, I think that's why there's more of a future in going and doing the whole Galt's Gulch kind of thing. Like, seriously, at this point, can't we just get a bunch of people who have like a shitload of crypto in this space and just go buy an island somewhere?
That's a great question. Like, is crypto actually the answer? Because when things fall apart, here's the thing. My issue I have crypto, so I'm not anti-crypto by any means. But when things fall apart, you know, especially things like Bitcoin, I have Bitcoin, you know, as like an investment of some sort. My only fear about Bitcoin is that because you can still track and trace it, and especially with things like Bitcoin maximalists really bother me, because here's the thing: if you were to replace the entire Federal Reserve with Bitcoin, if Bitcoin became a one world currency, doesn't that just elevate the problem? Shouldn't we be supporting more alternative coins along with Bitcoin? Just because if you replace the Federal Reserve and the whole banking institution worldwide with Bitcoin, doesn't that make it easier for a one world government and a one world banking system to form around Bitcoin? I don't know the exact, because you can still trace and track Bitcoin through the Federal Reserve.
Yeah, there's, if you have like a node, or if you just go on, I can't remember what the website is right now, but there's like a website that if you have like the proper like keys to someone's wallet, you can track everything. It requires a little bit more.
Reserve can track it. That's the thing. And my whole thing is that's why.
But like there's things like Monero out there that are great with.
Monero's still sketchy though. There's a lot of things with Monero I didn't realize a few months ago, and I found out you actually can track Monero. I like Pirate Chain. Pirate Chain isn't as big as Monero, but it's on.
So Monero's not the best one. It's not the best
It's-
one anymore.
I know. Honestly, you can still trace and track
I gotta hit
Monero.
up
The
a
Fed
dev.
is still linked to it. There's ways it can happen. I like Pirate Chain because Pirate Chain developed its own wallet, so you can't get it on Coinbase, you can't get it on any sort of trading site except for maybe Trade Ogre, but you have to have the Pirate Chain wallet to trade it, to own it, to sell it, to get it. That's how the Fed can't track it. So I like Pirate Chain, but even then, like if things still crash, and there's no internet, a real apocalypse happens, how will we still get?
That's the real concern for me. Is
Mhm.
whenever
Yeah.
the electricity.
There's a
and the
lot
grid
of other
goes down.
concerns aside from
Mhm.
crypto.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
yeah. Well,
yes.
At that point, so gold is the answer then. But
Yeah, but exactly.
Bullets are.
Hey,
It was
if the shit hits the fan and nobody has any internet, yeah, I have me personally, I have more money invested in gold, silver, and ammo than I do in crypto for that reason. Because if the shit hits the fan and we don't have an internet, guess what? I could grab 3 or 4 rounds and say, here, give me a few loaves of bread, give me that chicken, give me that cow. You know what I mean? And
we're back to bartering.
I'm self-sustaining.
Honestly,
how
you
damn
missed a good
Amcoms
thing
were
the
right.
apocalypse
Wait,
happens.
wait.
And we're back to but I think bartering's a better. The fact that bartering is considered illegal by Fed standard just shows you how much they want you to rely on.
My dad still does it. My dad still does it. Every time he gets pissed off with a cell phone company, he goes up T-Mobile like there's some damn Chinese lady at the flea market. Like, no, we're gonna we can't do that much. Can you give us unlimited with data for $2.99 a month?
You know what
They're
though?
like,
The
no, it's
internet
set
will
in
never
the
actually
plan, dude.
crash because the government needs you to have internet to rely on the government for media, for propaganda, for whatever information they want to put out. So you never know, but at the same time, things like crypto can still be overtaken. I don't know. There's so many things the Fed can do that I'm not even.
And we
there was a
got
great
Elon.
question here earlier.
We
There was
got
a great
Elon on
question
our
here
side.
earlier about abortion, and I kind of do want to discuss that for a little bit regarding self-responsibility.
There you go.
Yeah,
So-
Joey.
Here's the thing
Damn it, Joey.
about abortion. I do not judge women who've gone through that situation because the majority of women who've gone through that situation regret it, have PTSD from it, and the majority of the time it's usually pressure from either her family, the boyfriend, whatever. However, I will say this. I do not believe abortion clinics would exist if it weren't for government entities because abortion clinics only can exist with propaganda and the government's long history of racism. It's so funny how white wine liberals want to talk about racism and inequality, but they don't want to talk about how Planned Parenthoods exist because of eugenics. And I'm telling you right now, these Planned Parenthoods would not exist if governments didn't have their hand on eugenics. So a lot of what's going on with abortion, a lot of people say, well, Ashton, you can't be a true anarchist if you're anti-abortion. It's like, yes, I can, because abortion only exists because of large governments and eugenics.
Yeah, I understand the origins of it. I agree with you there. I still think there would be a natural need for it, though, in a modern society.
And here's the thing, true anarchy can only exist with communities. And if we had better community outlets and better communities working together under true anarchy, girls wouldn't feel the need to get abortion. Girls wouldn't be pressured by society to get abortion because they'd have a strong community to help them raise the child. The whole background.
In some cases, I don't like applying, the whole swath, right? Like some people probably would not decide to go that route just because that's just how it shakes out.
I believe that anarchy is work best. I believe in communes. I 100% support communes. I think communes are like the best route possible. And no, communes do not mean communism. In fact, most cases communes are actually anarchist and anarcho-capitalist, which I don't like saying anarcho-capitalist because that would mean anarcho-communist has to exist, and Anarcho-communism, it's not real, so I just say anarchy for anybody wondering. True anarchists live on communes.
That's like an oxymoron if you want to ever talk about
well,
that.
then people always tell me, like, oh, well, if you support communes, that makes you an anarcho-communist. It's like, not really, because if you've got people focused on working on the gardens, and you got one person who's a designated doctor, and everyone's working hand in hand together, and people are still trading things amongst each other within the commune and bartering, that's not anarcho-communism, that's anarcho-capitalism. Although, even then, I have issues with the term anarcho-capitalism because I can understand how some anarchists have issues with capitalism, especially with crony capitalism, which we live under today. So the term capitalism has been distorted so much over the past thousands of years.
Yeah, capitalism has been completely tainted.
Why I don't like labels like those, because the term liberalism has been tainted. Like, I read it, there was a time during the 1700s where liberalism meant owning your own guns. Like, it was a crazy idea to own guns at one point.
Clip that.
So,
hey man, I was having that conversation with my brother the other day, and I was telling him, I mean, fucking LBJ is more of a right wing figure than most of today's Republicans. You know, John F. Kennedy was more of a fucking right winger than most of today's Republicans. Like, it's fucking crazy. Like you said, liberalism used to mean you're into guns.
And that's why, like, whenever I first started looking into libertarianism, I just picked up John Locke, like the second treatise to government. That's a classical liberal book. It's very, very easy to read. It's very short. And that's what classical liberalism was to me at first. And I don't think it's too late to take it back, but I still like to take it back. Do you think we could ever take the term back?
I don't believe in taking terms, honestly. I don't think terms are good. I know people hate when I say that and when it's said in general, but terms are going to be distorted no matter what. It's like the term traditional, right? But everyone's like, I just want a trad waifu. And it's like, listen, are you talking about like 1950s trad waifu? Because even in the 1950s, there were a lot of things people were doing that weren't considered trad. Like, in fact, it was the 1950s, how they raised children in the 1950s that later on led to the craziness of the 70s. So when people tell me they want a traditional lifestyle based on a certain era, even back during the 1800s, 1700s, 1300s, there were still things that were normalized that weren't considered trad. So when people talk about traditionalism, I'm like, well, what do you mean by traditionalism? And a lot of the times people talk about traditionalism, they tend to be playing video games on their parents' couch eating McDonald's. So I don't, at the end of the day, terms and labels do not work because how people view different terms and labels is completely different. I have seen The Village.
The Village is crazy, actually. The Village is crazy.
The Village is actually a great movie because it perfectly critiques both, I guess, right-wing, left-wing stereotypes and how capitalism and communism are handled. But it's one of those things where it's like you can't really necessarily. It's like the Hunger Games. You can't necessarily label it as communism or capitalism. It's just one of those things that humans watch and are like, yes, this is morally wrong. This is morally right. And I think it's one of those things that helps humans recognize that, at the end of the day, we all have an understanding of moral groundbreaking. Of course, there's those people who are like, well, this is actually communist. This is actually capitalist. This is actually, a pro left wing. This is pro right wing. It's like, it's neither. It's just a basis of morality that people just want to label with their own thing. I love The Village. I really do, because I think it's a perfect example of how essentially when one group has control. I do believe in communes, but when you have a commune in that situation where everything's controlled and,
Go ahead, Mitch.
No, but like what you talk about there, like, I feel like that's the problem with a lot of art that comes out today, like films and TV shows and stuff. It's
purposely
very
left or right wing. It's the most annoying thing in the world.
Yeah, none of it taps on that kind of basic thing that we can all understand.
Because it's like a lot. I don't have like the left wing. I hate using the terms the left wing because I don't believe in left and right. But the stereotypical left wing, when they constantly quote Harry Potter and comment on Harry Potter, but a lot of things in Harry Potter can be considered right wing. Like every student at Hogwarts is armed at all times. They're armed as of the age of 11, and they're taught how to use it. And so it's just like it's just certain books. You can bring up political and cultural metaphors, but nothing is truly left wing or right wing. Everything is nuanced because nothing is black and white.
Do you like the top to bottom, the free market to authoritarian, totalitarian kind of scale that Matt Taibbi or Matt Kibbe laid out in like the Free the People, like his website stuff.
That's a great example because free markets, because we do not live in a free market society. Let me make that very clear. This idea that America is a free country, that we excelled because of free markets, is absolute BS. America has not been a free market since at least 1913, and I even go to say that when we were living under slavery, that wasn't a free market, because not every citizen was given the ability to participate in a free market, right? But especially since 1913, when the Federal Reserve was established, we have not lived under free markets. The Federal Reserve, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the J.P. Morgans of the world ruined everything. They made it, well, at least made it significantly worse, because even before them, we weren't exactly a free country, obviously. But the Federal Reserve is what really just took the cake. I mean, the fact that people say we live under a free country because slavery doesn't exist is psychotic, because the Federal Reserve was just a new establishment of slavery. It just separates the class. It's no longer a race war; it's a class war.
And there's still legalized slavery, because the state, the governments in the Constitution, they're the only ones, they have monopolized slavery, right?
Think about the prison system.
Yeah, Kamala Harris knows about that.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what they mentioned in the Constitution.
Right. It was the 13th or the 14th Amendment, was it? Basically, like you said, legalized slavery.
13th, I think.
The prison system is a perfect example of legalized slavery, right? Especially people like Kamala. The fact that Kamala Harris is, somehow a great symbol for justice because she's a black woman in office. It's like, are you freaking kidding me? Do you know how many black men she wrongfully put in prison?
But can we actually take a second, be happy, because I don't know if I'd rather Kamala be president or Biden. But there was a routine procedure done on Biden this past week, yesterday, I think.
It was a colonoscopy.
Colonoscopy, right? I don't know how many people died from colonoscopies. Probably very little.
Probably not many, but
probably not many. But he had
out the ass.
She was acting.
But if
president.
they do, they're probably 80 something.
I see you have the creature from Jekyll Island. So you want to talk about the creature from Jekyll Island? Why
I did a whole video on this, by the way, if you guys want to check it out. It's very good.
Okay. Yeah, plug your stuff. Plug your stuff right now. Well, might as well. We're in the middle of everything.
Yeah, so my favorite video I've ever done has actually been on a rundown in history of the Federal Reserve, and I do mention the synopsis in A Creature of Jekyll Island. If you have not read this book, please check it out. It's my favorite political book of all time. If you want to do a short rundown, I have that video on my channel. It's The Dark Truth of the Federal Reserve. So
nice.
Yeah, check it out.
And also, if you're watching this for the first time, don't forget to like and subscribe to the Swamp Creatures podcast on YouTube. We see 17 of you guys are watching on YouTube. One person's watching on Twitch. Hop in the chat. Whoever's watching on Twitch, you probably stumbled across this. You're like, I'm looking for Grand Theft Auto videos. What the fuck are these guys talking about?
It's way more boring than Grand Theft Auto.
That's what we're talking. Could you guys hear that soundbite when I played that?
A little bit.
No,
barely.
It sounds like blah, 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 blah. It sounds like the teacher from Snoopy.
It's Alex Jones. Still can't hear it?
That was Alex Jones saying that the water's turning the frogs gay.
Yeah.
Oh, Alex Jones.
But that's another one, man. We got to give it to him, man. He red pilled a lot of people onto, looking at the media and the establishment and everybody differently.
I love Alex, and I don't blame him for going down a similar pipeline I did with the whole Trump thing. But the funny thing is, a lot of both MAGA type people and even liberals forget is that Alex Jones used to be an anti-cop guy. Okay, before this whole Blue Lives Matter scenario, he back in this is actually how I found him when I was 13 years old. Somebody linked down a video of Alex Jones, like a World of Warcraft forum.
Oh, you were doomed if you're watching Alex Jones at 13. Oh my God! No wonder why you're here.
and he was talking about the cops. He's like, look at those guys and their mustaches and their gold frame glasses. And that was the first video I saw about him talking about police brutality. So Alex Jones red pilled me on police brutality at age 13. He used to be very woke on the situation of police brutality, and police brutality is definitely a huge issue. So I definitely I definitely agree with Black Lives Matter, not Black Lives Matter, the organization, obviously, but people who resonate with Black Lives Matter. I get what they're saying. The problem is that we're not handling it properly. We're not handling it as a community, recognizing that the police are foot soldiers for the elite and for the Fed. That's how we should be seeing it. We should be race baiting it because it's actually not going to solve the problem. It's actually distracting us from the problem. I cannot hear a single thing Rob is saying. Oh, there you go.
Rob, you there?
You there, bud?
Man, I think we lost
Rob,
you.
I think you're muted.
I think you're muted, buddy. Oh,
Nothing.
No.
The FBI got mad and they muted his mic.
So
God damn it, NSA.
That's something where, you know, we
Alex has always been
we personally need to go out. We need to, you know, actively white pill ourselves. We need to talk to our neighbors. You know what I mean? I live in a community that there's white people live next to me. There's black people that live next to me. I'm Puerto Rican. You know, aside from the guy that lives behind me, he's just a miserable asshole and he hates my dogs. So that tells you everything you need to know about him. But aside from that guy, you know, everybody in my community is super nice. You know, if somebody came in here and started fucking with anybody within the community, I have zero doubt that, you know, my next door neighbors wouldn't stand up for each other. And we need to, you know, like you said, communities is where it's at. We all need to get together and start meeting our neighbors again and, you know, spending time with them and building those relationships, because I don't think that happens anymore. You know, especially in the big cities. I lived in buildings that I knew nobody.
Yeah. No, that's what we did.
That's how the media hurts communities, okay? Because there was a time, years and years, I hate when boomers say, remember when the media reported on the news? It's like, sir, you grew up during a time where your teacher told you that if a bomb came down on your school to hide under a desk. You did not grow up during a time where the media told the truth, okay? There was a time during the Renaissance where town criers would preach whatever the king told them to preach, okay? The media has always lied. However, what's different now is that, as I mentioned before, I grew up during a time where the internet wasn't as sanitized, so you could find alternative sources of information. Now, we live in a time where it's almost encouraged to not talk to your neighbor or talk to your family members of different political ideology. They don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican. They do not want you to discuss things with each other. They don't want you to share different ideas, because there was a time where no matter what the media said, all the BS it was spreading, people still talked to each other. People were friends with their neighbors, their loved ones. They actually, despite political differences, people actually talked to one another. So if people read the newspaper, you know, they'd ask their neighbor and say, hey, what do you think about this? You know, I read this in the newspaper today. I don't really resonate with it. Can we discuss this for a little bit? We don't do that anymore. So people are basically hiding in their caves like little trolls on the internet, yelling at each other through their keyboards like, you dumb bitch, how dare you wear a red hat? You dumb bitch, how dare you
Rittenhouse is white
vote for
supremacist.
Biden, blah, 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 blah.
Rob, we can hear you
It's on every side of the spectrum. Everybody just hates each other. And instead of actually communicating and trying to make the world a better place, we all just want to write about everything. That's the problem, is we have this idea that people who have different opinions than us are somehow evil. Nobody wakes up one day and says, well, time to be a Disney villain and ruin everything for everyone. Mm-hmm. No, everybody, communist, socialist, libertarian, anarchist, Democrat, Republican, everybody wants to make the world a better place. They just have a different idea on how to do it, because they all have different resources of information. If we came together and discussed things and actually understood other perspectives and came to an understanding, the media would have a bitch fit. They wouldn't know what to do. That's the problem, is they don't want us talking to one another. They want us to insult each other and call the other person stupid or wrong or whatever.
It seems like anytime we get close to that sort of thing happening, they do everything possible to divide us. Like, aside from Occupy Wall Street, I kind of try to keep up with the politics of other countries as well. But before Bolsonaro came into power in Brazil, you had a situation where the right and the left were kind of finding common ground. And like, you even saw it from the outlets up here, like Vice, where they're like driving this narrative of just trying to divide them. Like, oh, the right is so terrible, we never should have worked with them, blah, blah, blah. So
So
Well,
Joey,
the Democrats and Republicans, it's so funny when Democrats say, it's time to finally come together. And it's like, do you not realize the Republican Party and the Democrat Party are sucking each other off? Like, they freaking love each other. I mean, at the end of the day, voting every 2 to 4 years, that's just them playing games with us. That's like they're going on hunting trips together and seeing who can get the most deer. That's all voting actually is.
I think you said sucking each other off, like.
Oh yeah,
like,
no, the elites are sucking
that's like
each other
your
off.
favorite thing.
I mean,
Yeah,
Bohemian
They are.
Grove.
They're sucking each other off.
We know because
When
of
they
Bohemian
can't, when they
Grove.
can't go to these pedo child trafficking rings, they're sucking each other off.
Okay, I'm switching my mic back now. Let's see if it. Can you guys let me know if it works?
you got
Yeah.
both mics up, but yeah, we hear you.
I mean, I could already hear you.
Well, I didn't switch it then. Am I good now?
You're good right
it's
now, yeah.
working. Yeah, it's working.
Okay, speaking of sucking each other off. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Did you guys hear that one?
No,
No.
God damn it. You didn't hear the soundbite? You didn't hear the soundbite.
nope.
Dude, yeah, something's wrong. I can't hear any sound bites.
Oh my god.
You're
The-
really proud of those sound bites, aren't you?
What about then?
They'd be great if they worked.
Yeah, no, nothing.
I don't like them putting chemicals
Well-
in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
We try. Well, you heard that one, right?
I heard
Yeah,
that
I heard that
one.
one.
But you
Yep.
didn't hear this one.
Oh, there it
Okay,
goes.
that one I
Okay.
heard.
Well, okay. All right, cool. We're back in business, boys and girls. Let's go.
10
Real
minutes
quickly,
later.
though, isn't it crazy to think that he was right about the gay frogs?
Oh,
He
Mitch
was
is
right about
stuck.
the gay frogs. He was right about a lot of things.
That's the one thing I would have thought he wasn't right about.
know
And then,
what?
like, when I actually looked at it, I was like, holy fuck.
So my dad actually attended UC Berkeley. He got both his bachelor's and master's there, I believe, and he studied toxicology, which is the study of nutrition, how different food science essentially. And he confirmed that was a real study done at UC Berkeley. He confirmed when I told him, hey, like, is it true, like, the chemicals they're putting into our water with fluoride and whatnot, isn't it true that they did it on frogs and showed it was changing the sex of the frog? And my dad's like, yeah. My dad confirmed it, but then it's like they turn around and say Alex Jones is crazy. He knows nothing. It's like he's a bit wild. I'll give you that. Maybe the way I describe things is pretty wild too. I literally, my biggest argument for socialism was they're eating rats in Venezuela. Okay, so I can't judge, but doesn't mean I'm wrong.
Do you guys want to have some fun?
What?
So I posted this in the links to the show, and since I'm hosting this show today, I want to bring the segment back where we do Florida Man Video of the Week. Are we? Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Okay.
What Florida Man video do we have?
Well,
Apparently another Kyle Rittenhouse was arrested.
wow. So this is courtesy of Andrew Schultz's podcast, Flagrant 2. That's where I found it at. This happened in Daytona Beach, Florida. The video you're going to be watching is going to be on the bottom left. I'm not playing the sound from the podcast because I don't want to get copyright. So this guy hops up on stage with a beer can attached to his head, suction cup to his head. And the lead singer of the band
I know about this.
is gonna take off her pants, and she's pretty much just gonna piss on him.
She pissed on him. She pissed on him.
Yeah, and they bleep it out, so it's okay. It's family friendly, but
Just a family-friendly
This
urination
is-
video.
Family-friendly golden
Oh
shower.
my god.
And-
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
is Trump there? Like, is he
oh
enjoying
my
himself?
god, that was like an uproar.
Rated PG-13.
So
Oh!
he looks pretty pumped about it. He looks pretty happy that he just got peed on. The band later said that they're not going to be doing this anymore, but it seems to me
Don't worry, we
like
won't be pissing on people
so it
anymore
was
at
a
our
regular thing
shows.
before, like,
I think it's a regular thing, right? Because no one just does that.
Gigi Allen did.
And then she kicks him off stage. Like he's like lingering around too long. So she's kind of like, get the fuck out, dude. What are you doing?
I pissed on you already. Like, what the fuck
get
else
out
do
of
you
here.
want?
Yeah,
I
what
let
do you
you
want?
pee on me. Come on.
Yo, what the fuck?
Sorry, man. I just had to I just derailed the whole podcast. I love it.
Why?
Hold on, this
Florida?
was in Florida.
No, that was in Florida. That was in
Yeah, that was
Daytona
at
Beach.
Rockville.
Yep.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's stupid. I don't know.
I mean, Gigi Allen did some crazy shit back in the day too. Like the
I
punk
mean,
rock singer.
honestly, Ozzy Osbourne biting the head off a bat is still pretty.
That's
crazy
what
that
they
he-
were talking. They were saying it's like kind of the equivalent to that, but it's like wait.
No, it's not.
Like when
yeah,
Billie
it's not.
Eilish drank water and then spit over her entire audience.
It'd
Johnny
be
Rotten
different
did
if
that.
she drank piss
Beer.
and then spit all over her entire audience, but she didn't.
It would be
Yeah,
stunning. if
pissing
they
on
did that.
somebody. Like, this is in a whole different league.
Yeah. Yep. And that's the only links for show that anyone posted in the Discord this week. So that's why that got talked about.
I'm
I think
sorry,
that was
Mitch,
my
are you
thing.
okay? Mitch,
Yeah,
are you
I-
okay? You're dying.
I got him good on this one. That's funny.
Mitch, do you have the COVIDs?
Yes, I got the Rona.
The COVID.
I got the Kung Flu. The China virus.
Vagina.
I still
China.
can't get the
Vagina
Trump
virus?
expression down.
Your
China
COVIDs?
virus. The China.
The comedian
Tough to do a good Trump.
Shane Gillis, Mitch, you know Shane Gillis. He does the best Trump impression audioly I've ever heard.
There's like one guy on
China.
TikTok who has like a spot on Trump.
That's what you call a hard segue. There was no leading into that one, Joey.
Yeah, no, I don't know how you segue into that one. Or out of that one.
What, the urination video?
Yeah, the hard segue. That's definitely
So
what that was.
if you have red wave or red wave or whatever with elections, if the Libertarian Party ever gets anywhere, does that mean it's a golden shower?
Wow, that's a good one.
I mean, you brought up a piss video, so I might as well bring up that old joke.
No,
I
it's
think
good.
it's so funny that so I don't know if you guys know this, but I lived at Tim Pool's house for like 6 months, right? And I swear to God, like almost a year, like just a little over like a year ago, right? He was telling me how he only wants to live in red states. Like his next plan was to go to Tennessee, whatnot, maybe Texas. And I was telling him, like, dude, I don't think red state, blue state's gonna matter like in a few years. And he was like, no, we gotta move to a red state. We gotta move to a red state. And literally just a few days ago, total like change within a few months is talking about how red state, blue state doesn't matter. And like, I remember bringing up the Free State Project to him in like New Hampshire like a few months ago, and he told me how New Hampshire was a horrible place to move to because you're next to Vermont and Maine, and it's a horrible place to go to. And now he's like talking about what a great idea the Free State Project is within just a few months because
He was
Michael
talking about
Malice.
that. Yeah, he was talking about that.
Because Michael Malice and Alex Jones kind of support it now. I feel like I'm like Tim Pool is one of those people I really want to debate.
Mhm.
And then, because I remember like a few years ago, he interviewed me and mentioned how he doesn't like Alex Jones, and now he's best buddies with him. It's the funniest thing watching.
Oh,
Tim
he was
Pool.
getting so annoyed with Alex Jones in his RV in that episode. Like the
You know what,
the
though?
last one. He was like,
Tim
dude,
Pool doesn't
shut
want to
up.
admit it, but when he has people on, even people like Michael Malice, Alex Jones, and like they get him good views. Like I hate when he interrupts Ian because a lot of the times Ian is like the most intelligent person on that show. Luke is the most intelligent person on that show. I think deep in Tim Pool's mind, he doesn't want to be wrong about what they're saying. He wants to prove that he is right and they're wrong. But deep down, he knows that they're onto something, and he just have to go with it, no matter how much he doesn't like it.
It's a
micro
role,
dosed with red pills.
It's a role though, because he does play. I think he plays devil advocate very well because he's definitely on like kind of our side, right?
Tim Pool's not dumb. I will say this.
No,
I just wish he wasn't so critical about things that he doesn't fully understand, because a lot of the times he ends up agreeing with them like a few months later. Also, he's got to stop showing his guests where his like food supply is in his house, because one of these days there's actually going to be World War III or an apocalypse, and everyone he's invited to his house for his show are going to show up to his doorstep and be like, we know where his stash is. Like, they're not going to be there to help him out. They're going to know where his stash is, and they're going to show up.
Give me all the
And, like,
Chef Boyardees,
Tim
bitch.
Pool just learned how to use a gun, like, if not a few months ago, a year ago. So
I felt
the
like
city boy,
that was
Chicago city boy, he's not going to know a lot about prepping and whatnot unless he's got the right people behind him. Like, he just started like a year ago.
Well,
so
he's got Joe
Tim
Rogan.
Pool's got to be careful with that stuff. It's like, yeah, you're a beanie boy with a lot of money based on your podcast. Like, you're preaching the right stuff, but are you actually physically prepared? That's
Ashton,
my only question for Tim Pool.
You're breaking Mitch's heart right now. Is what you're doing. He listens to Tim Pool to fall asleep every night.
Well,
no, he's my nighttime talk show. Falling asleep. Those are the conspiracy
Pool is
theories.
not dumb.
Aliens.
Tim Pool is on the right track. Oh yeah, no, and I there's a good comment here. To be fair, Luke doesn't know. Yeah, it's very true. As somebody who knows Luke personally, Luke just got into guns last year as well. Like, Luke is another one of those people who preaches a lot, but you know.
I mean, Luke at least seems very red-pilled about anarchy.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, yeah. Luke definitely is on the right. For example, Luke. Well, actually, to be fair, I had to tell Luke what Jekyll Island was, which was kind of surprising to me. He didn't know what Jekyll Island was until I told him. Look, they're on the right track. They're very smart people. I would just love to debate Tim Pool on like anything and see if he changes his mind in a few months. Like, and you know, they'll never interview me. They'll never talk to me you know, they'll never have me on their show again because I'm irrelevant now. But I would love to debate Tim.
You're on the Swamp Creatures podcast.
I would love to debate Tim on anything, any topic he wants. I'll debate him on anything, and he's probably right about some stuff. He's probably wrong about some stuff. I think Tim Pool is very smart. I just want to debate him. I just want the chance to be like, you know,
with your point about the Free State Project and how he kind of flip flopped on that. I think two things can be true at the same time, right? Like they can be doing a really good job. They can be doing a really good job in New Hampshire and in the Free State Project and fomenting a lot of change and stuff. And then they could also still be surrounded by socialist Vermont and like New York and all that. So like they're both true at the same time.
Well, that's been my biggest criticism of New Hampshire is like a free state idea. It's surrounded by statism.
Joey was asking about the Tho Bishop strategy after this.
Real quick, that's not necessarily a bad thing because you're going to get a lot of condensation of people that, you know, anybody who's liberty leaning.
You said condensation, right? Like when it gets wet outside of your cup because
no, that's not the word I'm looking for. I'm a little buzzed, and the Spanglish translations aren't working right now. Concentration. Damn. You're gonna get a lot of concentration. All the people that are liberty leaning and all the states are like directly surrounding you are gonna want to move there, and that's, you know, arguably that's a good thing. Mm-hmm. That being said, you are still surrounded.
Yeah, move to a warmer climate. Alabama and Georgia, friendly with Florida. Florida Free State Project. That would have been so much easier.
The concept of a free, my biggest argument for a Free State Project is that it requires a state to exist, right? Mm-hmm. The reason why a Free State Project exists in New Hampshire is because it relies on the state to grant them that. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes,
I do. Exactly. So because New Hampshire is still a state, that's what keeps Massachusetts and Vermont from sliding in and disrupting the Free State Project.
Right. I agree with you there. And also, the presumption is there, you have to have a state, then you have to have a government.
And let me make it clear, I'm not knocking Tim Pool. He has every right to change his mind when he changes his mind, because I change my mind about things all the freaking time. I'm constantly learning new things. I just wish Tim Pool would give his guests more of a chance to talk and not argue and not judge, and not, especially Ian. For the love of God, let Ian and Luke talk. I mean, they're actually really smart what they talk about, you know? Ian's a little out there, but I actually do agree with what Ian said, especially when it comes to the Federal Reserve. Ian knows what he's talking about, and when it comes to anarchy, Luke knows what he's talking about. I just don't like when Ian and Luke get interrupted by Tim, and then only for a few months later, Tim is like, well, you know what? This is actually the right way, and he doesn't give Ian or Luke any credit. It's just really annoying to me. Tim's very smart. I've always liked Tim as a person. I just wish he'd let Ian and Luke talk a little bit more. That's all I'm saying. And his guests talk more, you know.
Yeah, I agree with you there. because I do get annoyed at Tim Pool whenever he does cut off guests because he thinks they're being maybe controversial, or he thinks they're making a point where
He doesn't
he's
want
like,
his
"There's
show to get taken down.
right."
Yeah,
And-
it's the fear of
and-
Google.
and it's worked for him though. So yeah, there's something to that too, I guess.
I think. Well, Tim has a lot of power in the YouTube sphere. Like, look, YouTube sends him stuff to his house. Like, YouTube likes him. That's the thing people don't realize, is that he's not getting taken down anytime soon because he actually makes YouTube a lot of money. And Joe Rogan has a similar power with YouTube, because even though YouTube may disagree with Joe Rogan, and even though Joe Rogan has a lot of controversial guests on, YouTube is never going to censor Joe Rogan as much as they would, like, say, anyone else, because people like Joe Rogan and Tim Pool make YouTube so much money. So I can understand Tim's like fear, and I understand why he's tiptoeing around everything, because he wants to make sure his channel is up so he can get certain information out for people in the future. But they have more leeway than other, say, quote unquote right-wing podcasts, because they make so much money for YouTube. Because every time a super chat goes in, YouTube takes a huge cut of that, and YouTube likes money. So,
but let's be real. They Joe Rogan and Tim Pool are not right wing.
They're not.
Right wing. Everything's
I do,
relative, right? Everything's relative. Nothing's left or right, or nothing's good or bad until it's compared to something else. So yeah, for YouTube, yeah, they're extremely right wing. But I would hardly, obviously on the traditional spectrum of left and right. I mean, it's hard to argue that they're right wing.
I do enjoy Joe Rogan's podcast a little more than I do Tim Pool's. And that's just because I feel like when I listen to Joe Rogan's first of all, Joe Rogan's totally awake on the whole war on drugs situation. Like, and he's not afraid to promote shrooms, for example, and personally for me, microdosing has been a huge help for my depression and anxiety. So when Joe Rogan brings up the fact that Joe Rogan brought up shrooms on Tim Pool's show, and Tim Pool was kind of just like taken back, like, no, they're going to censor me for you mentioning shrooms. It was so funny to me, because I do appreciate, but also because Joe Rogan lets his guests speak more. Again, my only qualm with Tim Pool, honestly, is that he just interrupts his guests all the time.
Well, I want to dig a little deeper there, because I think Mitch can agree with me here, and a lot of libertarians can. If you're not a 2A libertarian or an anti-war libertarian, you're probably in the drug war libertarian.
I'm all free.
Right? No, and
so
we are
just like
we are here too, obviously, and you. If you're not,
we want to end the wars, but goddamn, we got to keep the drug war going.
I mean, if you're not all three and you just came in,
more crack to the ghettos.
You get indoctrinated.
It's funny how many Republicans are so big on like fighting big pharma now. But like 2 years ago, it was like, you smoke the marijuana, you smoke the devil's lettuce. What are we gonna do? Oh my goodness! It's like the Pfizer
but maybe that's a connect
issue. It's the same thing as the marijuana issue and the shroom issue. The fact that like we're caving so much into big pharma right now is the same thing as like what's happening right now with Moderna, Pfizer, this whole vaccine mandate situation. It is the drug war. This is the same thing as making marijuana and mushrooms illegal. It's the same exact thing. It's just painted differently. It's the vaccine mandates are in the same category as the war on drugs. So whether you want to spin it off anyway, if you were a Republican who 5 years ago was like, you can't legalize the devil's lettuce, and now you're like, these vaccine mandates are literally Hitler. It's like, okay, well, are you going to be anti-vax mandates, or are you going to be on the same page as the people who want to make marijuana a gateway drug? Because the same people who tell you have to get vaccinated and cave into Pfizer and cave into Moderna are the same people who tell you marijuana is a gateway drug. Pick one.
Rich, you got it.
Yeah, and how many on the flip side, how many of the left were, oh my God, Monsanto and, the GMOs and blah, blah, blah. How many of them were big on that 3 or 4 years ago? And now they're the ones simping for big pharma, that like both sides just completely flip flop just because, that's the political, headwind.
Yep. I wanted to dig in deeper to the decrim stuff. Joey, we're going to get to your question in 1 second. So you said that microdosing helped you out with your depression, which it's been shown in the John Hopkins study and in the University of South Florida study that at least MDMA can be used to treat PTSD and stuff like that. Same with psilocybin and even LSD. What have you done, and what was kind of your journey? What was your last journey, and what was like your kind of breakthrough moment where you're like, this is my shit. This is good for me.
So the first time I smoked marijuana, I actually did not enjoy it. I don't smoke marijuana. I haven't for years. And whenever I smoked it like once or twice, but it gives me anxiety. I don't like the feeling it gives me. But I still want it to be legalized because I recognize it does help other people. I'm completely obviously against the war on drugs. However, I tried shrooms for the first time in June at PorkFest. It was a very small dose. I didn't really trip or anything. I just saw like the outlines of everything. And then throughout the week, I tried microdosing, which was essentially just to help a little bit. And it actually did help me. And, for years and years and years, especially when I was younger, my mom really tried to push me on SSRIs at like 8 years old. And that really messed me up for a long time. And I constantly went through the few years of my teenage years, going through cycles of trying new medications over and over again. I was basically taking cocktails of SSRIs as a teenager, which really messed me up for a long time because the psychiatrist was like, well, we got to try this new medication. We got to try this new medication. And so I stopped taking medications altogether for a long time. And then I tried getting on them again in 2018, 2019. And that just made me messed up even more, which, led to a lot of meltdowns, some, existential crises for myself. And then 2020, I completely, got off them and really just put myself together. And I was looking for, and obviously, depression, anxiety, everyone deals with it. So when I started trying mushrooms this past summer, it actually really did help. And, a lot of people out there like, Ashton takes drugs. Oh, no. First of all, it's microdosing. It's no different than, and then say certain herbs in your tea or whatever to calm you down.
And you can cut them off. You can cut them off and go, entheogenic plant medicines, bitch.
It's the tiniest little thing. And here's the thing. These help me better than, say, pharmaceutical drugs. And I don't microdose every day. I microdose like, twice a month, once a month. And it does this, it works better than pharmaceutical medications. And it actually, I don't have to take it as much. I only really take it like when I really feel like I have to. And I don't take it every time I feel depressed or anxious. I try to train myself to work through my depression and anxiety. But during times where I really need to sit with myself and calm down, that's when I do it. And it's on very rare occasions. But I still feel like, the fact that we demonize people for things like mushrooms, marijuana, but then we are so adamant on pushing kids on ADHD medication, which is far more harmful. And it just leads to more medications being sold. We have to ask ourselves, what is the business strategy behind this? Is this actually going to help us, help our children, help us, help whatever, and I feel like people make huge judgments because they're told to make judgments. And a lot of people, I talked about mushrooms recently on my channel and people just came after me, MAGA type people came after me, just judging me. But it's like, this is what helps me. And it's helped a lot better. It's a lot safer, if anything. So.
And you're not the only one. It helps a lot of people. And people have been taking this stuff for thousands of years.
I'm also here's the thing. This is like a crowd that witnessed me have several mental breakdowns on the internet. Like I want to say 2018 and 2019 were one of the worst times in my entire life where I was going through a serious mental crisis. And I was on SSRIs during that time. So for people to be like, oh, you should just take depression medication. It's like during that time I did, it was one of the worst times in my entire life. But the moment I started, 2020, I got through it with like meditation, yoga. I hiked every day. That helped. But when I started taking mushrooms this past summer, I've been getting better so periodically. Like I've been getting better and better every single day. And I think, when people make judgments like that, just assuming things because, mushrooms has this stigma of like the 1970s and Woodstock and all that crazy stuff.
You're going to jump off a building and think you can fly.
Exactly. It's like, No, I'm not taking giant amount. Like, it actually takes a lot of mushrooms to actually trip. That's what people don't realize. It actually takes a lot of mushrooms to hallucinate. So,
It depends on the batch you get.
mhm.
You're right, and I think you hit the nail on the head there in your anecdotal experience, which most of this is because they're illegal, right? We haven't had access to
The
studies.
law says it's bad. Oh no! It's like, when has the law ever been correct?
Yeah, so there's the sheep mentality of it all there, and then even in these commercials for like all
Well,
these
the same-
SSRIs, right? They say you may experience suicidal thoughts and like violent tendencies. It's like they're telling you to your face. What do you think
Mhm.
happens when you give that to a child over his whole adolescence and his whole like
And that's
growth?
probably why I deal with so much depression and anxiety now.
You-
It's
but
because
you're
of
not
the
the only one.
SSRIs that my parents put me on at a young age. And that's the thing I have to explain to people. I'm probably messed up. Well, obviously I have childhood trauma and whatnot, but I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that I was put on SSRIs at the age of 8 and onward, and that really messed me up. And then my biggest mental breakdowns were when I was on SSRIs in 2018 and 2019. And so I look, I'm not saying everyone should do shrooms, everyone should smoke marijuana, but it's definitely something I think there needs to be more research into. And I think we just need to encourage people to learn to understand themselves and try different things to help themselves. Like,
Mhm.
as far as I'm concerned, a lot of SSRIs didn't help me. And trying this new thing that I was honestly scared to try mushrooms at first because I thought, like, I'm gonna have hallucinations. Oh no! And I was with people who I trusted, who were there for me, who helped me through the process. And now I'm not. Yeah, exactly. So it's just like one of those things where I think people need to be not so judgmental and really be open to. Also, it's like when the same Fed who tells me to trust big pharma and that Ross Ulbricht is a criminal and that Julian Assange is a criminal and that Snowden is a criminal, when they tell me that marijuana is a gateway, like, why would I trust the Fed? Why would I trust the same Fed that puts all of these people in prisons, that tells me to trust big pharma, that tells me to trust the mainstream media, that marijuana is a gateway drug? Do you honestly think I'm going to trust that?
And
The same Fed that printed trillions of dollars last year is
Mhm.
printing trillions more this year, passing $1 trillion infrastructure bills that is going to stop inflation.
And just another point on like the drug war, and then I'll drop it because I don't want to sound like a hippie the whole show. But
Damn long-haired hippies.
kids who are doing these mass shootings in these schools, they're not on mushrooms. They're not on anything
They're always
else.
on SSRIs.
They're always on
always.
on selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. They always are. About 95% of the time, all these school mass shootings with kids, they have been on antidepressants or stuff like Adderall, Vicodin, Ritalin.
You know what? A lot of the time too, it's usually like what happens is that these kids who are taking SSRIs their entire life, the moment their insurance runs out and they can't get those medications anymore, they're not weaned off those SSRIs. They're just cut off, which is basically taking someone who's a heroin addict or a methamphetamine addict their entire lives and then cutting them off instantly. And people wonder why they go crazy and wonder why they have emotional breakdowns. It's because, here's the thing, if I were to microdose on shrooms like every day for 2 weeks and decide one day, you know what, I don't want to do shrooms today, I'm not going to have a mental breakdown. Because my body, because it's a fungi, it's a plant. My body's like, you know what, I'm cool with this. Whereas things like sugar, cocaine, caffeine, methamphetamines, heroin, if you take those for like a week
Alcohol.
and then one day decide alcohol, if you take those for a solid week and then to say one day, I don't want to do this anymore, your body goes into breakdown mode. Sugar, caffeine, alcohol, which are completely normalized, and then every other drug. Mushrooms and marijuana, you could smoke for like 2 weeks, a month straight, and then one day be like, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore for one day, and you don't break down.
You're like,
So
no,
like,
I don't feel like it.
Yeah, like what's more dangerous?
Sorry, go ahead.
It is
Caffeine's more
easier to
dangerous than
become-
marijuana.
No, seriously, caffeine is in fact more dangerous than marijuana and shrooms, and yet it's
Oh.
normalized every single day.
I'll kill someone if I don't have my morning coffee. That's a fact. That is a
Children?
fact.
Oh yeah,
Studies
headache.
show
I
that
believe you.
children
Oh.
have sugar have more sugar addictions they've ever had in history. So if you took a child who's like just eating sugar cereal every single day, and then one day like say, hey kid, you can't have sugar cereal, they're going to have a tantrum. They're going to have a breakdown because their body is
Oh, they're gonna
literally
take it.
having
They're gonna
panic
take a
attack.
shit in the middle of kindergarten. They're gonna take a shit in the middle of
Yes!
daycare. Dude.
Their
There's
body
no.
is having a panic attack.
Mom
So-
didn't send me my fucking gushers today.
Why-
I'm pissed.
So why is it we tell people, you know what? It's totally fine to have sugar and caffeine and all these different other, drugs pushed by big pharma. But like
Mhm.
shrooms and marijuana, which are shown to have no severe breaking of the body when you decide to quit after a long period, somehow those are more dangerous.
Well, and I think it goes back to when Richard Nixon in 1971 said this is public enemy number one. The drug abuse problem is public enemy number one, right? And it's because when you're smoking weed and taking acid, you don't feel like picking up a gun and fighting in Vietnam. You don't feel like picking up a gun and fighting against fighting a war against, or even doing anything for that matter. You just feel like chilling and looking at the sky or something. And so if you legalize that, if you legalized it, I think people would use it in the microdosing aspect, like Silicon Valley, to be very productive. And then you could also use it in a way that would open a lot of people's minds and then help a lot of people out who need the therapy. Yeah,
I'm
Mitch.
totally all for that, but at the same time, I can't help but think of like the MK Ultra experimentation and what we know of what they have done with things like LSD as well.
Mhm.
Because it's like, take for example, like the sensory deprivation tank. I don't know if you're familiar with that at all, like the isolation tank that Joe Rogan talks about. I've done that before, and the CIA did experiments about torture with that stuff.
Mhm.
And it's
Well,
like, it's an amazing psychedelic experience, but I've been in there for more than an hour and a half before, and I can see how someone could go nuts in
But
that
it's-
sort of thing.
it's voluntary is what we're obviously advocating, right?
Well, yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
obviously, the town in France that the CIA dosed with LSD, I mean, obviously, that wasn't, people willingly taking it and going on that sort of spiritual journey.
Yeah, we're not trying to Ari Shafir everybody around here. We're not trying to like dose you in front of your kids with like Molly or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, if you got some issues, or if you don't, and you just want to have a fun day off, it should be available to everyone because fentanyl is FDA approved.
Are you serious?
Fentanyl,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a drug.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you didn't know
it's FDA. That's like I did a whole
didn't know
video on the FDA too. It's like, look, if I have friends who are vaccinated, I have friends who are unvaccinated. Like I think people should be able to make their own decisions about whether they want vaccinated or not. But when people tell me that the vaccine's okay because the FDA approves it, it's such a dumb argument because the FDA approves of so many horrible things, and Pfizer, who is responsible for a lot of these vaccine mandates. And by the way, you watch any media take on this stuff, brought to you by Pfizer. It's yeah,
Oh,
sure
we
thing.
have
The
the clip.
vaccine, the
We have the
vaccine
clip.
that's free, Pfizer still makes money off it from government paid research. That's what people don't understand. And so Pfizer, who's responsible for a lot of other drugs that are pushed off the market, being very dangerous, they're pushing us back to something no other. We're already seeing a lot of dangers to it. Again, I have friends who are vaccinated, not experienced any bad things. I'm just a firm believer. I'm not anti-vax. I'm anti-mandates. I believe people should make their own decisions for their own bodies.
Amen.
Simple as that.
Amen. Yeah, I think you're completely right on that. I had a point, but I forgot. Mitch, do you got anything? Schmirez?
No, not really. I mean, I think we could all agree that, it's not going to hurt anybody. Well, let me not say it's not going to hurt anybody. It would be beneficial to everybody if we could do more tests and figure out, how weed and, shrooms and all that stuff is going to be beneficial to us because there's some obvious medicinal properties to this stuff.
Yep. There are a couple of studies out there. John Hopkins in South Florida, like I mentioned earlier, they've done studies that shown that psilocybin, the active chemical in mushrooms, actually can help build new neural pathways, which is good for PTSD because it helps you associate things that you negatively associated with stuff, like with experiences. It helps you reassociate those with positive experiences through actual therapy. That's what the studies have shown. And I'm going to plug in Decriminalize Nature. They are a great organization. They help decriminalize a lot of entheogenic plant medicines in Detroit and in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Mitch, your home state, should be proud. And they're here. They're in Florida. So the libertarians are getting involved with them. And we'll see what we can do here.
So I guess that brings us to Joey's question that he's very adamant about us asking you. How do you feel about Tho Bishop and his strategy? How familiar are you with that? Now that you're technically a Floridian.
I don't know. I have not heard of Tho Bishop, so I apologize. If you guys want to give me a rundown.
So what do you know about like post-libertarians and like the whole Mises GOP? Do you know anything about them?
The Mises, I thought Mises was more. How could a Mises GOP exist?
Oh, we know.
We know. Okay.
Wait a minute.
So you need the whole rundown.
As in, like the Austrian economist? How can a Mises GOP?
So there's Andrew from Popular Liberty, Pete Quinones, Tho Bishop, and I think there's somebody else involved also. They started the Mises GOP caucus. Basically, they're saying no.
Apparently,
completely unironically.
I think we should start the Green Party Mises caucus.
I'm sorry. Okay, I'm not for labels or anything, but you can't say Mises and GOP in the same sentence. I'm sorry.
So it's essentially they're going with the whole like Eric Brakey, but the Ron Paul strategy: be libertarian, infiltrate the GOP, and use the Republican Party as a means to an end.
But even Ron Paul, who ran under a GOP ticket, he still called himself libertarian. He still talked about ending the Fed while running a GOP ticket. He even he said multiple times he does not support the GOP while running on the GOP ticket. So to say Mises GOP is just. I'm sorry, that's not my vibe. I'm not. No, 2 thumbs down from me.
So
0 stars.
I get what they're saying because they do advocate for the fact that this isn't us claiming that you should be a Republican. This is us using the Republican Party as a vehicle, which I get for some certain local politics.
And I end up joining a cult because of that. So if we can not do that again, thank you. No. Mm-mm.
Well,
I honestly when I tell people I was in a red hat cult, I think every political party is technically a cult, but when I tell people I escaped a cult, I mean what I say. The red hat Trump supporters are a freaking cult. The fact that Trump can break every single one of his promises and break all one of the things, go against every reason that we all voted for him, and still have these people who are like, Trump is our orange Jesus. It's how are you not a cult? And then here's the thing. And even back when I was a Trump supporter, in the interview I did with Tim Pool, I even said every political party is a cult, including the MAGA, sphere. And people were preaching for me back then, but because I took the MAGA hat off, everyone's like, you can't call us a cult. And it's you're proving that you're in a cult. All of you, every single one of you were backing me up when I was saying this with a MAGA hat on. The moment I took it off, saying the same stuff, supporting the same individual beliefs, you guys got so mad. It's just the thing. I'm still for gun rights. I'm still pro-life. I'm still about ending the Fed. I'm still about taking down the media and the CIA and the FBI. Everything I was preaching back then. The only difference now is I took the MAGA hat off. And I no longer hang out with Republicans. And the MAGA types that follow me are angry, saying that I changed.
Here's my issue with Tho and them. It's that they have now stolen our name, and and using it in a way with the GOP, it's like it's also very ironic because it doesn't work. We're Austrian communists, we're anarchists and stuff like that. GOP is not going to go that way, just not going to do it. But my overall thought was, if anyone's working towards liberty in whatever way possible, as long as you're working with us and we're all working it together, that's a positive feedback loop. And I enjoy that. But the thing is, they're not. They're really not. And I kind of see why, but you have to not be selfish. Like me and Rich are members of our county affiliates. If you are so involved,
Mitch from the Florida Mises Caucus as well.
Mitch is a state organizer with the Florida Mises Caucus.
Yeah,
so Mitch is doing.
Too.
We're all 3 state organizers with the Florida Mises Caucus.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're so involved with the LP to where you're involved on the county level, most likely that your county acts more like a social club and not like a professional business, not like a political entity. And there's reasons for that. We don't have to get into that, but that's why they're so scared. I think it's selfish because you could still build that. You could choose to grow it, or you could choose to take the way out and say, I'm going to run as a Republican.
Well, let's be real. A lot of the free staters have done that, and they've had a lot of success doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a time and place for that.
Yeah,
well,
that's
you guys know about Aria,
smaller state.
Right, but Aria is a great example of this, though, because Aria, who's from Free Talk Live, she is a trans Satanist, ran under the GOP ticket, and she's a full-blown anarchist. She's freaking hilarious. I love talking to her. And all these Republicans voted for her.
She ran for sheriff as in New Hampshire, right?
Right. She ran as sheriff under the GOP. Mm-hmm. She put GOP an R next to her name, and all these people who voted for her didn't even think to research her. And then when she came forward, they're like, "I voted for a trans Satanist. Oh no! Clutching my pearls." It's just the funniest thing in the world. And
that's funny.
And look, here's the thing: is that Republicans, I have to talk about this because Republicans, they'll jump forward. I have to agree with Black Lives Matter on this one because Republicans, if this was, say, a black guy who went to a MAGA rally and he was attacked and defended himself, Tucker Carlson would not be talking about him.
Are we talking about Kyle Rittenhouse?
Yeah. For example, when liberals come to me like, well, if you support Kyle Rittenhouse defending himself, do you back up the fact that Breonna Taylor's boyfriend was killed by cops who didn't knock? And I'm like, yes.
And you're like, yeah.
Yes.
And they're like,
how
come we haven't heard about you?
He should have killed more of them.
Yeah, but then it goes back to the fact, it's like, how come we haven't heard about you? It's because we're run at the county level as a state party, as any state party is in the Libertarian Party, and your county affiliate probably has 4 people who drink beers at a bar once a month.
Yeah, well, and just speaking of ideology, people just assume, oh, if you support Kyle Rittenhouse, then you don't support Breonna Taylor. It's like, yes, I do. Yes, I do. I believe in someone's right to defend themselves, and I support the idea that cops are fascist. Okay? Because you cannot have the Second Amendment. You cannot stand with don't tread on me, and then have a Blue Lives Matter flag next to you. You just can't. If our founding fathers saw us saying things like Blue Lives Matter, they'd be rolling in their graves. Okay? Because saying something like Blue Lives Matter is the equivalent of saying Red Coat Lives Matter. Can you imagine what our founding fathers back during the Revolutionary War said? I know the British are trying to hurt us, but I met one red coat and he's a real nice guy. His name's Paul. And then Paul ends up shooting him during the Revolutionary War.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I did a whole video on it. Go check out my channel.
It's because you gotta listen to The Crown. We have about 3 minutes left in the show. Traditionally, I'm the host. I started my bar studies the past 2 weeks, so I'm having a lot of fun. I'm willing to keep the show going. I don't think it automatically shuts off. I think I have the power to. We might hang around. Ashton, you're free to stay. You're free to go. I don't care. Everyone get their plugs in now, and we can just kind of hang out.
So real quick, just to round off that last point that we were making, I just want to add to the whole Tho Bishop strategy. My problem with Tho is that he just wants to shit on the Libertarian Party and say that the Libertarian Party ain't shit. You're never going to get anything accomplished through that, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, what have you gotten? Give me what you have actually gotten accomplished in the Republican Party, and then we could talk. You know, you've got the Free State Project. Again, that's a great example of people getting shit done through the Republican Party and people actually putting that, you know, into practice. But me personally, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to go into the GOP and people are not going to take me seriously because I talk shit. I run off at the mouth. You know, I have no filter. I've got no patience for that shit, which works for me in the Libertarian Party. But in all reality, it's not going to work for me in the GOP. So you know what? I'm going to be more useful here. Whereas, okay, fine, you might be more useful over there, you know, and that's fine. Just stop talking shit.
Yeah, and I love that. You made a great point. Not even going to add to it.
Right on. Anyway, go check me out on Twitter at MitchConnorJLo. Trying to think what else. Check out the Libertarian Frontier on TeePublic. And also check out Drip Delta 8 and put in code word Mitch at checkout for 10% off.
You know, Mitch, we actually get sometimes a couple hundred views on this podcast, not live, but like overall.
Yeah, I know, replays.
You should ask them if they want to be an actual sponsor of the podcast. That would be amazing.
Rob's just like, give me a cut.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot live. We have like 10 seconds. Ashton, go ahead and plug everything you got.
I am known as Ashton Birdie, as you see in my little, I think it's right here, the little handle right here, on Instagram and YouTube. And I am also known as on Twitter as The Ashton Blaze, TheAshtonBlaise, because Jack Dorsey decided to ban my other Twitter, my official Twitter, 2 years ago. So I'm back on Twitter. But yeah, come check me out on YouTube. I have been taking a little break for a little bit. If I'm going to start making videos again, I talk about all things Federal Reserve, anti-cop, anti-Fed in general. So yeah, come check me out.
Nice. I'm just gonna ask you guys to donate to your local LP affiliates, or maybe even the state party, and go to the holiday party. There's going to be a holiday party happening in Tamarack, Florida. It's already in the green for a fundraiser.
What
How
day is
about
that?
It's going to be December 11th. And
I will be back in Florida for then, so I'll be in the area.
Well, hell yeah, you got to come out to that.
Broward County. County. There you go.
That is my county now.
Yeah.
Hey, hold on. I'm gonna throw this out there. There's a lot of old guard people who said that, you know, we shouldn't have this fundraiser because it's going to cost money to make money, and boohoo, we got to spend a little bit of money. So we've obviously, we've already proven them wrong, because I'm pretty sure we've already raised more funds than what we've spent.
Yeah, we're in the green.
We want to completely shit all over what it is that they're doing. So absolutely, come on by.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a huge help.
Mm-hmm.
Yay.
Rich, I have taken the strategy of you, and even at my county affiliate meetings, I'm just being completely transparent and telling them my perspective on everything.
Yeah.
And even going to Santa Rosa with Ed, who we thought might be old guard, we were like, "Hey,
Ed's cool, man.
Ed's cool." And no one responded to what I said in the Discord, but I think Ed kind of sees the light. He does.
Yeah, dude, and the whole old guard moniker, I don't have a problem with people that have been around for a while, as long as they realize we can't keep doing the same shit.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem, is the people that want to do the same shit, because what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same shit over and over again and expecting a different result. And doing the same shit over and over again, what the fuck has that gotten us? It got us last year. It got us this year. It got us damn near full-on totalitarian. Fuck that.
Yep, I agree. And I'm not going to talk anymore about LPS stuff, but yeah, you can get in the Discord for that. I'm not going to end the show unless all three of you guys want to.
Well, while we're on the show, Ashton, what's up? You going to join Mises Caucus or what?
I already have a button, so I guess I might as well.
The buttons, the buttons get people.
I was at Yale, and Mitch just started throwing buttons at me. He's like, "Here, put this on." I'm I'm like,
That's
okay.
right.
Well, here's the thing.
Get so many
I
of these
did-
damn buttons.
I did find Mises Caucus at Porkfest. That's where I originally found it. I was already friends with Dave Smith a little bit. Well, it's weird. So it's funny. When I first saw Dave Smith on stage, I'm like, wait a minute, I know him. I saw him at Tim Pool's house. And so I walked up to him. I'm like, hi. I don't know if you remember me, but we met at Tim Pool's house. He goes, yes, you made me a hot dog once. And it was the funniest thing in the world. I completely forgot that I made Dave Smith a hot dog. So, like, I just assumed it was a really good hot dog since he remembered it. And he was like, come meet me at the Mises Caucus tent. I'm like, okay. And so then I hung out with him, Scott Horton. It was a fun time. So that's actually how I found Mises. So, well, Mises Caucus. I already knew about Mises before, but
That's a great way to find us. It's Eternally Minded 7. Obviously, they know you, Ashton. I just posted their chat. But me, Mitch, and Schmitchard, we're all state organizers for the Florida Mises Caucus. That's kind of what this podcast started as. It was like a Florida Mises guy podcast, basically, for libertarians. So yeah, give us a like and follow, man. We do this every week. We're pretty fun, and we have some other guys too. We have like 6 hosts, so some of us aren't on some weeks, and some of us rotate in and out.
This is less than half of us.
Yep. But this has been a fun podcast, and I know
Definitely.
the 3 other guests are gonna be like, you guys did over 2 hours, because I haven't seen a slowdown yet. Yeah, hit the chat.
I mean, like, we went through everything. We went through Kyle Rittenhouse. We went through the drug war. Went to cops. We went to Black Lives Matter. We went through basically everything. So that was. I thought we were just going to focus on Kyle Rittenhouse, but we just like went through everything.
So one last thing, actually, might as well bring it up. Since we're still going. Let me pull it up. Andrew Coffey.
Hang on.
Andrew Coffey, Indian River County. Apparently there was a no-knock raid similar to the Breonna Taylor situation. No-knock raid. He opened fire. He actually killed some of the cops. We could cheer that on later. But he actually managed to kill some of the cops.
That's tough.
No-knock raids
Jesus.
are the most anti-American thing out there.
Is my soundboard still?
So he actually managed to kill some of the cops.
They're gonna need a fucking wrecking ball.
Jesus, dude.
God, how long is that? Is that
That
sound
was,
right?
that was a hell of a soundbite.
It was supposed to be just, I'm not fucking leaving.
So
I'm sorry.
So he shot back at some of the cops. I think he killed some of them. I don't know how many. Long story short, he got let off for the murder charge, but he's still getting hit with a gun charge. And I think we should definitely make it be known that that's happening right now. And a lot of people are posting it and saying, "Oh, this is 2 wins for 2A." He got off of a murder charge. That's not a win for 2A, in my opinion. That's slightly a win for justice. But he's getting hit with a gun charge because he was a felon.
What's his name? What's his name?
Shit. He has a strange name. Andrew Coffey.
Andrew Coffey, and it was in what county in Florida?
Indian River County. So in a small town just outside of Vero. I don't even remember what the fuck the town's name was, dude. I had never even heard of this town. Where the hell is it?
Yeah, no, knock raids are definitely the most American thing most anti-American thing out there, especially considering that our entire country is founded on police officers not being able to just walk into your home whenever. That's actually how it started, basically. British soldiers would just barge into people's homes, unauthorized, unannounced. And that's actually how, the revolution initially started. Well, actually, and of course, on the Boston Massacre, which is a pure example of police brutality.
Right. It's a fucked up situation. I just feel like more people need to hear about it, read about it, all that stuff. Because again, he got off on murder. That's great. But a lot of people are saying, "Oh, this is a win for 2A and for gun rights and blah." This is not a win for gun rights. He's a felon, and even though he's a free man at this point, he's not allowed to defend himself. And he did nothing wrong, but he's still going to get hit with a few years because he had a gun in his house, because of something that happened prior. You know, and there's do you think ex-felons should be allowed to have weapons?
Mm-hmm.
If you're allowed to be out on the street, if you're too dangerous to have a weapon, then you probably shouldn't be out on the street. That's my personal take on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see how people are cheering this on like this is some sort of big win. But the few people that are talking about it, they're talking about it like it's great. I just don't think it is.
I'd have to see more of the story in question and the background.
I think we should do something where police can't just barge into your home unannounced.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Simple as that. Better yet, whenever people say, the whole joke of come back with a warrant, that implies that a piece of paper, a warrant, has the right to infringe on your rights. I don't say come back with a warrant. I say get the fuck off my lawn. Simple as that.
I'm with you. Anyway, it's running late for me. I personally got to go. I got to work tomorrow. I got to wake up early.
I got a long drive ahead of me tomorrow.
But it's been fun. It's been real. Ashton, we look forward to kicking it with you some more. Hopefully coming back on the show and hopefully, getting active once you get – when are you coming back down to Florida? You're on mute or something. We can't hear you.
I come back right before December, so I'll be there because I have to go to the Bit Dazzle thing. I'm helping Lynn Ulbrich put together an NFT to help raise money for her son.
Oh, nice.
Ulbrich. So
yeah, I heard about that.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
That is amazing.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, we look forward to kicking with you at a later date.
Fantastic. Yeah, definitely. I know you guys recently had a meeting and Clint was able to attend. I wasn't able to go because I was just too tired that day, honestly. But yeah, I'll definitely be able to meet with you guys when I get back.
Awesome.
For those of you following the Florida Mises Caucus Twitter, stay tuned. If you know Clint and you know about the Mises Caucus Twitter, there might be some developments.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe. Who's to say? Who's to know? We'll know by tomorrow. Rich and I will. Well, I guess I'll get off then too. Everyone's got to get off. I'm sad. I wanted to keep it going as long as I could. Sorry, Joey. I'll hop in the Discord later. It's fine. Yeah. Thanks for listening to Swamp Creatures Podcast. Give us a like and follow. And everyone, give Ashton Birdie a follow. If you haven't already, you're probably here because of her. Thank you for coming, Ashton.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
It's been
no problem. Everybody have a